Took me a second.
Say hello, Internet.
Hello, Internet.
What's up?
It's so off-putting. She's
I
so
love it.
loud.
It's so good.
So,
I'll have to be like extra soft to make up for it.
Oh yeah, I know. Please, yeah. I can't stand it when I have less than all my players audible.
Fight out! Out!
Oh, you want to just sit in front of people and be like, nah, you ain't leaving.
That's right, Senator John.
I'll just ruin that immediately.
All right. I need more hero points.
I have
Yep.
26.
Hero points or XP?
Oh, XP.
I was
Sorry.
about to say, part of me believes you.
Well, I do get hero points. Like you don't even understand.
No, I don't
I have like
understand.
7 hero points, I think.
Jesus.
I have
My
two.
Well,
abilities all use
you're-
them, so
But
You
when I
probably-
use them, I have to use them at like 3s.
You're gonna burn him faster if you try to turn into an elephant. Because it's
An exotic beast.
it also has a little bit more mass.
just a little.
I wonder how difficult it would be for the city to believe that I had sex with one of those.
I mean, they're halfway to believing anything at this point.
Well, all you need to do to crap that story is to cut the elephant loose during this party and get it to go on the rampage, and it'll be like, I heard that's another one of Mendes' jilted lovers.
You just
That
gotta get
elephant
over
got
to-
pissed.
you just
Let
gotta
me
get
commune
over
with it.
to peace,
I can
right?
speak its language.
Wow. Yeah.
Elephant hits you with its trunk upside your head.
Well, one of our
I
old, one
can't
of
do it in a tune. I can only make general elements.
And
It's
one-
a try.
one of our
That
old,
elephant is actually 3 horses, apparently.
it's 3 horses in an elephant suit.
And now we just gotta make it talk to itself. Oh no, I can't.
They are communicating if they're working in that costume.
One of our old games was the battle cry was "Let's fuck that dragon."
Wow.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
what- that's
did
one of my
you? And
favorite.
you survived it.
Figuratively,
Right.
There was dragon fornication, but not actually.
That's one of my
Very
favorite.
fornication sounds like a band name. Is that
Right.
what it
Yeah, it should be.
is now?
It's one of my favorite interactions on one of the podcasts I listen
Find it
to.
out?
No.
When the PCs are about to storm into a room, there's like
Hopefully, or
they're psyching themselves up and they're about to kick the door. And one of them's like, "All right, let's go in there and fuck these guys." And it's just like, "Up? What? And then fuck these guys up? What? And what are you talking about?"
Like, no, I'm trying to be like totally gay about this. Why do you not understand?
All right. So I believe we got everybody. Last
Indeed.
session was the eve of this party.
Eve of
Where-
execution.
There was a makeshift war room at the bottom floor of your house. Marilyn's 2 new hires got fitted for outfits and were present. So was Jose Espada. Yes.
Not do anything to the hair.
and Ricardo also came along for the ride, offered support from the Crows, and a little bonding moment with Genya, talking about the next steps for eventually saving her sister, so there might be a field trip up on the horizon. But yes, at this point, you feel very prepared and wake up the next day, day of the event.
It's still in the evening though, right? It goes all dated.
Yes. So everybody's sort of getting prepped up. There's a
I mean, I have to check my shop before anything.
large brunch being prepared. What are you gonna do at your shop?
I mean, wait, what day of the month is it? Or what day of the week is it?
It's on a Friday.
What am I gonna do? Like, what I do every time I go to my shop.
Try to take over the world.
I'm just trying to see if you have specific things that you're trying to accomplish.
Let's see. Okay, so I have written here, things for a shop. Carpenter, ask my people to research. Need furniture indoors. Locksmith is blank because I'm not doing that yet. Fabric, spend 1 hour per day looking for fabrics and making arrangements. So one of those hours is going to do that. That's it.
Okay.
So I guess I'm seeing if there's any news about this carpenter, or that I'm looking for fabrics.
Yeah, there's a list being thrown your way. In fact, you recognize a few of the names on there since you were paying attention last night, because a few of them work with Rethold.
You.
So you might have an in if you approach these guys and mention Mr. Mendez. You have a few hours, even past brunch, you have a few hours to kill before it's time for the events. Are there any last minute tasks you would like to take care of?
Jane just sits with
Veronica?
thank you, Veronica, for as long as she can.
They're good.
Tell her stories.
Yeah, she seems to be sleeping comfortably, at least.
After I do my fabric thing, I think. Actually, no, I don't know. Never mind.
Amanda's out back. We're putting the finishing touches on her various things she wants to bring with her.
I go to the swordsman lodge and just to practice.
Okay.
Get myself in
You get out there and pick up some steam, find a couple of sparring partners willing to run through drills with you. Rethold, are you undertaking anything in particular?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Guess what?
I mean, what? What'd you forget?
My dice are in the car. There's dice, please.
I have held dice.
I was like, I had 3 boxes of them over there. There are dice aplenty here.
Yeah, this is not a diceless household.
Yo, guys, dice.
First try to say it more than 9.
Maybe I would make some preparations as if I were going on a raid. Just sort of some general prayers and a few songs and maybe nothing, no obvious markings, but maybe under the shirt or under the tunic, some chalk and some
That's right.
some paint just to make sure that
You catch your hat.
Somehow we made that happen with our T-Rex arms.
the Allfather and the and
Thank
all the various deities involved know that we're repping and
Solid.
to keep things fun.
Yeah. Depending on where you set this up, any of you who are at the ground level of the house, you'll notice that Ricardo has stayed over. There's like a little wooden table that was brought for him in the back, and he's sort of getting prepped as well. He's wearing a fairly fancy outfit and sort of, putting his sword in, and you notice there's 2 cloaks on the table, one that looks more like a dress cloak, and the other one that looks more battered, probably service cloaks that he's loading with like couple of pistols and a dagger, and he's stuffing that into the pockets and sort of folding it with another hat with a wider brim and sort of packing that together.
Like, is there a particular place you'd like that planted?
Yes, in fact, I reached out to a couple of our brothers after your ask last night. We will have your escapes
She's gonna shoot the
routes.
No.
We will have your escape routes covered. So
Oh,
I got a spot where this will be ready for my use.
Excellent.
I like the dress sword, but I have a personal attachment to some of these other ones.
Oh no, absolutely.
They've seen things. Evine, any last minute prep you do?
She's going to do the quietest training montage to justify spending the rest of those experience points.
Nice. For all of you, the training montage, there's like faint music happening in the background, and like the camera focuses on all the wrong thing. It's like, look at this tree. Look at this bottle on the table. Like you see like a silhouette in the background, like maybe doing something for half a second, and then it moves out of frame.
It's all very art house.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Yep.
Yes.
It's like an art house French movie where it cuts midway through the conversation, and it's like, oh, credits? Oh, okay, all right. I guess we're done with this.
Oh, it's over? Interesting.
You just said he was going out for bread there. All right.
Yes, you are left unsatisfied, like the protagonist's wife.
That's right.
Just
Life is
like
pain.
in
You
real
will also
life.
know pain. Yes.
All right.
Life has no easy conclusion.
I paid $12 for this.
I knew
Yes.
that's pretty.
How does that make you feel? I don't like it. Good.
Any specific things, Evine, you're spending that XP on?
Thanks, Art.
Mostly out of curiosity.
Actually, I'm on the wrong device. Let me grab my iPad because I scribbled notes when I was there in person with you guys.
Okay.
It's not on my computer anymore. Hang on.
Did you, noob?
Marilena, you walk back in, you gave in your instructions, things are running smoothly at the shop.
Mhm.
So you turn into the house and see all of this business happening. Rethold is, with some restraint, slathering himself with paint and symbols and getting ready. You have a shirtless Northern man.
And I'm singing,
I avert my eyes because I'm a married woman.
and I'm
I'm
singing
not sure as far as the backyard, there's a
things in my
Minor.
native tongue.
minor explosion.
Yep.
Just smoke pours out like, oh, it works! Like, okay.
Honestly, I don't.
As I drag another streak across my chest, I go,
I
ah!
sweat it a bunch, and then I just get dressed.
You're like, how did I get in this?
Yep. You see a shed in the background, you hear like a
Nice!
just like
Yep.
colored smoke.
Like, okay, it works.
I have so many lashes. I'm not gonna do this now.
Augustina actually
Go on.
walks in at some point while your time started. Does not interrupt you, but just comes in and sort of changes the pillow very gently and puts up some new sheets and brings in a small bottle with water, just chilled right by the nightstand just in case. And then she wipes her hands on her apron and just pats you on the back and she'll be okay. I'll watch over her, you have my word.
I know. And then she stands up. I suppose everyone else is ready.
Oh, they're getting ready downstairs.
I'm not getting ready around other people.
Mr. Mendez is walking around without a shirt and there's other preparations going.
Oh.
Who's this?
Who are these people?
So many names.
Yeah, there's
Well,
actually
there's two Mendezes.
there's
Yeah,
two Mendezes
Ricardo
in the
was
house
also
right now.
Mendez.
Well, and she's
So-
like, why is Mendez without his shirt?
right. So
Oh,
for a
other
second,
Mendez.
Jenya,
He's waiting for you.
the wave hits your face as Ricardo's last name is Mendez.
Yeah.
So you're like, why's Ricardo walking around without a shirt on?
That does not sound like him.
He never stopped drinking. That's nice.
I was like, well, I can't get drunk, so I didn't stop.
Right. That's right.
Keep pouring my glass.
Can you
Just
imagine
keep
the
going.
scene if that's you came down the stairs and that's exactly what happened? Ricardo had been drinking all night just without a shirt, like shooting guns in the backyard. We're gonna fuck these guys up.
Don't wreck my tree.
I feel like I'm having a moment, like, while I'm getting ready, because I'm like, the last time I got dressed up like this, I was still
That's right. You
having emotions.
spare a thought for your husband somewhere out there. Not quite sure how he's doing.
No, I probably think he thinks I'm dead, but I've never taken my ring off, so I'm still married.
Taking that plastic off of the thing.
Yes, that's right. Good plastic sound.
Your dog.
It's okay, I don't get upset at her.
You should.
She's my baby, I can't.
Yeah, you can.
And I'll just be like, all the more reason to be upset with her if she's here. It's literally all taped together. Do I have to take it all the way out? I have to.
I
You can
almost
do it
nodded.
now or
Why
you can
am
do
I
it in the
nodding?
morning.
In the morning, I don't have a backpack, that's how I was Fine.
All right.
That
So
was
everybody's
really
assembled downstairs. Your guys are here. Tony got stuck in the loop.
What's happening here?
I don't know. Tony was staring into the middle of this.
Don't let me
he
screen
started
froze.
he
Yeah.
started
I had
started
to, click,
teenaging and got
click
stuck.
a million times to make it happen.
I tried shaking the mouse, but it's not doing anything.
Yeah. What's going
Just
on?
keep hitting the monitor.
Yeah.
Just
You're-
keep hitting spacebar.
Yep.
Those things
As you walk downstairs, Jenya, you're very comforted somewhat by seeing
Just everybody.
Ricardo all dressed up
That's good.
and
I'll have to
Rethel,
talk to him about running around half naked. It's not. There are women here.
right?
They'll be very upset.
Yeah. And then you catch sight of Rethel without a
Just,
shirt.
just
Paint slathered on the chest.
That's right.
yeah.
He's supposed to be like that.
As soon as I see you're out and about, I'm like, okay. And then I put on the shirt, and then I put the coat on. And
Jenny does not have her pack, but she has a few more hunting knives than normal.
Yeah, your two hirelings are here.
Mhm.
Jose Espada is here, wearing the clothes that he was fitted for. His hair color is.
I fixed it.
It is.
I fixed it. It at least is a natural shade of
Yes.
blonde. It does not look natural on him.
No.
But it is a real hair color.
Yes. It looks like he had blonde hair all along. And you can feel sort of the nervous energy in the room as everybody's sort of exchanging a couple pleasantries, right? Like just starting to get loose. And Ricardo said, all right, so I believe a few of you are going with the house staff. A few of you are going as guests. Madame Salvadora, bless her heart, has gotten me an invitation, so I will be within the compound, and my role will be to coordinate. I will coordinate with the crows who are embedded within the compound. Quite a few of us are waiting to secure your exit should you need to make, let's say, a more heated run for it. We will be ready to cover you. We also managed, again, through Madame Salvador's and a little bit of Luna Maria's help, to embed a couple of us within the house staff. So we will be on the lookout. But if at any moment I will be circling around within the event grounds, so if there are any messages you'd like me to relay, I would be happy to do so.
Sort of off topic, but Jenny has all of her little charms that everyone has given her throughout, like either on her belt or on her lapel.
Okay.
So she's got all her jingly bits.
Yes. And as you gather all of these charms, and it's not a joke, there's an eye.
Oh, shit.
I told you, Ollie, it's here! I found it!
I nudge you.
Riddle,
I
it's not the right color.
I nudge her ever so close, and I'm like, it's good to see that she has a sense of humor, even with what's going on upstairs. I'm proud of you.
I found it.
Well done.
I knew it was somewhere.
Thank you, Amanda.
It has followed me.
Augustina takes your package.
No.
You know, I think you would have thought the joke was dead by now, but
she
you
sort
keep
of
doing that.
nods, and she tucks it in the pocket of her apron,
No,
and
it's
then she
not.
grabs your
You're so
hand
dedicated.
and
I
gets it
love
really
it.
close.
Don't ever stop.
Yeah, my promise. Also, I'm not going to deliver this today.
Jimena is
Thank you.
resplendent, by the way. She has flounces. She has
I don't know who this lady is.
she has earrings
Oh yeah.
and a little tiara that all have like
Oh,
what
wow.
look like little gems in them.
They're actually candy.
No.
It's rock candy. Yes, they're
Just in case you
They're
get a package in the middle of
there's-
a dance, you can just.
explodey bits.
Any of you at ground level, as Jimena steps into the room, you see Jose Espada sort of.
Wow. Got my pants a little bit tight.
No, open up your shirt.
Yep, they pop the collar a little bit, like you see a little tuft of hair, like sort of, you
If
know.
my men do that, I make them button that shit up.
She turned
I'm a
around.
proper woman.
Say.
Jenny goes, I don't know
Yes.
who this is.
lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's sort of standing like straight, you know. He's just trying to fill his outfit, brushes his blonde hair, you know. Hat tucked under one arm, and then he offers you the other one.
I got one for each arm. Mm-hmm.
Okay then, Jenya, we need to report in for duty.
Yes.
Evie is in the room with you guys
She
at
puts
some
the,
point.
the eye in her breast pocket. This one stays closed.
Yes, you feel it pressed against you.
It blinks. Exactly.
Ugh. You just grew out of
See
like,
how
all
she just
around.
throws them into the bushes and then finds them later. It's so just that kind of dedication is amazing. And so like I put on my hat like I'm going out to work and I'm like okay then, we'll see you at the party.
As you step outside of the house.
Come, Jose.
Yes, sir.
Like 4 different people answer. They're like, wait, oh,
No,
oh, you
they
mean
know
you're
which
not
is it.
answering.
Somehow they
The
know.
Jose's know which Jose.
The intonation
Yeah.
gives it away.
I mean, you know, yeah, because there's
All of George
Jose.
Foreman's
There's
sons were
Jose.
named George Foreman, so
That's right.
Yeah.
you have to just know.
They
which
call
one.
my fucking sons George.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
My grandpa had all his brothers were named Jose.
I think this came up last time.
But most of them went by their middle names.
Yeah.
My
No,
grandpa, he was the one that actually went by Jose.
nice.
He inherited the title.
Yeah.
They were probably some secret jewel that happened at some point. They were like, all right, you will wear the
Their
mantle.
dad was Jose also.
As you step outside of the house, this written, you notice that a different carriage has been brought up top. Same horses, but that one's fancy. It has like gold trimmings and the horses have been all dressed up. You'll notice that the two front horses like have a headdress with like feathers on it.
I give a nice whistle. I'm like, if we weren't already working for that person, I'd steal a bunch of that shit.
Xavier is actually dressed.
Oh,
yeah,
the starch. Oh,
you know.
the starch.
fully dressed. The long white socks, the shoes. You know.
Oh
he's
wow. He's
White
so,
gloves.
so much butler.
Black coat.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
He's a gentleman of gentlemen.
The spectacles.
Just side eye.
You don't have to ride in this carriage.
She can't ride in that carriage. We need to get there before y'all get
Yeah.
there. Yeah, come on.
Like, you don't have to worry about it.
Just let me step on the seat.
As you guys start to hit the road, Xavier actually bows to you. It's like best of luck on the hunt.
Thank you for basically thank you for holding down the fort. And it'll be a hell of a
Did we
it'll be a
decide
hell
on
of a
any like hand signals or like?
Oh no, we've got this place scoped out as if we had cameras and comms.
Okay.
That's right.
And yes, we do have we did have predetermined signals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yvonne can basically see the entire
That's right.
compound
Yes.
with a focus on the two potential handoffs. We are stationed equidistant to that in a garden somewhere as if we were just helping. And it's
Yvonne, I'm gonna give you a choice. You can either walk in with the work crew. With your skills, it's also would be pretty easy for you to hide yourself behind the carriage and then get dropped on the ground. So whichever way you'd like to work this out.
The second one.
All right. Yvonne sort of steps out of the house, all decked up, ready to go, steps behind the carriage, and vanishes again. She never comes back out.
That's what she does.
Xavier actually goes and opens the carriage door and takes off his hat and gestures towards the ladies.
And then is
Up to us.
she's bouncing. She's so happy.
I think your bully boys probably show up on horseback, you know?
Oh yeah, they have two magnificent horses. Big specimens. Rethel, you can get an appreciation for those. Those are bred war horses. Good stock. Nothing too fancy, just like functional military.
Oh wait, maybe I might have to write it in. I forgot.
You're riding in the carriage.
Oh,
They're gonna flank basically the carriages. They're gonna be security, and Jose will ride up front with Xavier.
Shotgun, so to speak.
That's right.
A blunderbuss at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Riding along for
I'm calling musket.
That's right.
Nice.
Yes.
As soon as that door is open, Jimenez up in the carriage, just like, ooh.
Oh yeah, no, it's fancy. It's like dyed red
I feel like I'm like the
seats.
opposite, and I'm just very serious right now.
Jimenez never like been close to anything that's fancy. She's just like,
That's right.
she's like the work girl from the mountains.
Right.
Meanwhile, this one's got PTSD and is being triggered
That's right.
constantly.
Yep.
Last time
Everything's
I
a
was
trigger.
here
on this property.
Right.
Usually when I'm dressed up like this, it's when I gotta do some things for the freaking doggies or whatever.
Yeah, being paraded
those
in front of
assholes.
people. It smelled like this, and oh my god.
Jimenez like, oh, there's a secret compartment. Like
Yes,
touching everything.
there's actually one, and it has wine in it.
Not anymore. You crunk before we get to this party.
Yeah, pregame,
Gotta pregame that shit, yeah.
You mean you're hanging to the back of the
Gotta
carriage,
hang out and drink
close to the
liquor
underside,
in the trunk
and you
in the
can
parking
you
lot.
can close the march. The two boys get on their horses. Xavier closes the door, and puts his hat on, and you are off. The carriage goes at a very pleasant pace. This thing is well made. Like it makes like a pleasant sound in it, and just I don't know. It feels like you could sneak a nap in the ear. Are you folks going on foot?
Oh yeah, we take a direct route because we gotta report in.
And Xavier will take a little bit of the scenic route.
Oh no, yeah.
Parade them.
Yeah,
That's right.
Part of the plan was to have them come from an odd angle anywhere
That's right.
in case anyone was like, oh no, they headed straight back for that safe house.
So you guys arrive first, and it is booming in there. Like guests are arriving. Like you see the gate checkpoint. The moment you start showing up, you see one of the guys from security. And it's like,
We're on. We're good.
"Oh, Senor Mendes, please, please."
Yeah.
A lot of people are panicking. Good that you are here.
Oh well, no time to lose. Okay then. All right.
And there's
Virginia, you know where you're headed. Carlos, come on. Yeah, I start heading in, and
Yep.
I'm just like, go have a seat, and then over to Jose, I'm like, grab that tray, and then just go back and forth, like you know where you're headed, and be like, I got it.
right.
All right, and then
And there's nothing like super groundbreaking that broke. It's just stupid shit, right? Like people are
I will
panicking. 'cause it's-
absolutely take this tiller, and just start puppet mastering this whole thing if that's
Right.
if that's what's necessary.
He's like, like people come to you with like shit like, oh, the Contessa came in and she thinks that the gatehouse is way too far. Like it is way too far to walk from the checkpoint to the house. Is there anything that we can do?
I'm like, absolutely. We will send our most innocent face to tell her it will be moved at the soonest possible opportunity.
So you get embedded immediately, and you see
Oh yeah.
you've put in the work. So you see, the moment you show up on the ground, like some of the folks are just like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And this event is
And
gonna
I
be
keep
fun.
reminding people that at a certain hour my shift is off, so I can't be helping anymore at this point. But up until then, absolutely. And then just follow the by then the part will be winding down. It'll be quiet and lazy as everyone gets all drunk, and then we're just gonna have to clean up the drunkards. We know how this goes.
Perfect. So you get to work immediately, and it is exactly as you had planned.
Mm-hmm. Like an hour or two
Yep.
max, just putting out these fires,
That's right.
and then I'm able to come back and post up with Genia.
Absolutely.
I was like, am I just taking care of like?
Genia, you get like a lot of pats as you come in. Like one of the other workers is like, "We thought you were sick. It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming back."
And just do not get sick.
Yeah, that's what I told the boys, but
Yeah, if
word gets around like you were not here, and it was like, there's no way she wouldn't be
I
here,
think we
right?
agreed to have you have a trowel or some other gardening implements. So that was the excuse for you being out in this garden.
Oh yeah.
And you probably were
I mean, I take care of all the garden and I take
Yeah.
care of the animals anyway. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's right.
And so it's like, oh no, we had a secondary.
Jenna's because she can't lie. She can't.
Yeah.
She can't. She goes. I had another garden to take care of.
Sort of looks
But
at
she
you.
also can't read, so it's like.
Yeah.
Also,
You
like,
see
he's
in
got
his
20,
eyes-
so it's all just a blob of nothing.
You see in his eyes for a
Before you
second,
snap.
it was like, there's like innuendo in there somewhere. There's some dirty.
She can't lie. She can't.
He also does not understand
The people-
what dirty means.
The employees that I like that are good people. We've been talking about, all right, and then after this gig, you need to make sure your next gig's in line, and because we're sure not going to be working for this guy after it, and so I'm like, yeah, she already started one of her other projects. It was okay. We cleared it with her foreman.
Yep.
I have a tree in a house.
It's very nice. It's a concept.
Oh
thing.
yeah, the tree. I gotcha. And he he just smacks you on the shoulder and he's like, "Good for you."
It is a very nice tree. Yes.
I'm sure it was.
Sturdy.
For you to miss a day of work, I'm sure it was a good
Well,
tree.
you're not getting any of the
Good.
innuendos at
Good.
all.
I'm surprised she can walk.
It was not that hard to put the tree in.
No, getting
No.
it in is usually never the problem.
Now, this lady, come on, I'm more worried about the tree.
Fair. But no, she, for all that strength, she has a very soft touch.
Well, it's awkward. I'm
But now it's away
gonna, it's like, well, we're talking about feelings. It's, I don't have a good comeback for that.
Chuckling on the way, I'm like, maybe if you're really lucky, one day you'll concede her bush. Okay,
Oh, well,
come on now.
I wouldn't dare.
Well, of course, never without her permission. Come on now, we got work to
It's like you don't even need to hide it. Jenya's just in here. All of this is going.
It is nice bush. I keep it very trim. It's round.
do. But has
I admire that.
voluptuous and
The leaves are very big.
I don't doubt it.
Look like Kit.
Thick roots. though. Has very thick roots.
takes strong men to push through hedge.
This is pretty much never gonna stop if you
Yeah.
don't stop
No.
it.
This guy started it, and now
Can't
like
breathe.
you see the red
Yeah.
at the tip of the ears sort of
I'm okay.
popping
You
up.
look hot.
He needs to
Oh,
get back to
well,
work.
you
He's
know.
fine. Go shoot.
Yes. There's work to do. We're having a
There's
busy run.
a
Let's go.
guardhouse to be moved. Go.
So he's on his way.
I make that a meme for the evening. It's an in joke on it. It's like, oh,
Well,
what is
the
he doing?
guardhouse
He's
is-
helping with moving the guardhouse for the countess.
Perfect.
Oh,
Then,
that's the slang we use for when you have to use the bathroom now.
have to use the guard.
I'm gonna work on the guard. I'm gonna go work on moving the guardhouse.
If you'll excuse me, I have a guardhouse to move.
Oh, good. Wash your hands after.
Yes, it's solid work. Um,
I should hope so. You should see a doctor.
It's not, yeah. Oh,
especially
yeah.
if it persists.
See, no, I love it. We're just going from one side to the other.
Yep.
We're on brand. It's great.
Jenya, as you get close to your post, you start to get, ready to do your assigned work, and you feel the ground vibrate a couple times. You hear a couple yelps and some panic yelling, and when you turn around, right by the fence, there's this giant face in the trunk that sort of moves towards you. The trunk almost smacks you in the face, and it just bumps you right up. And you hear panic people, you see that there's a rope around the fancy collar that they put in, and you see one guy flat on the ground holding the rope that got knocked off his feet. Because this thing is right against the fence right now. And it's on a panic shout. It's like, make it turn around! No!
As soon as I see that these two are together, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I hop the fence and I'm like, you change. You get look. It's fine. You know who this is. And they get okay. They'll get it back.
The worker gets back up and you see him unroll a piece of the rope from his, and it's just
Nice try. Pay for effort. Go change your shirt.
Jenny actually hops over and then removes the rope. You don't need this.
People are gonna be panicked.
the
Well,
trunk
that's great.
is rubbing at you, and you get a.
Yes, I know.
Maybe
I'm sorry.
Maybe you can find something nice to help to dress up a little for Eli.
He does not need clothes. He is a magnificent beast.
Oh, accentuate. Make it nice because the fuddy duddies will want something fancy on there.
Just starts mumbling in the most angry Russian. Servant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know those words. Agreed.
You see a younger girl that looks like she might be Ifri. She has couple buckets with her, like with what look like some sort of dyed liquid. It doesn't quite look like paint, and she's like, "Should I put these away then?"
Well, what are those? Are we? How are you decorating?
Well, normally we just put it right on the skin, make little patterns.
Just so ruffled.
Oh yeah, no, she withers when you give her that
Oh,
look. Like the
freaking
girl is
bad.
just like, I can just put them away.
No sigils, no markings, maybe something nice for the.
I will ask you.
Okay, yeah, yeah, or, yes, yeah, you know, if need be, yeah.
He does not care.
A sensible alufant. All right.
Yes.
She very sort of tentatively at first like goes and she goes like to the hind legs and starts to draw real aesthetically pleasing green like swirling like almost like ivy pattern, and it sort of curls in on itself, and then she adds like some yellow spots like here and there, right?
Okay.
The elephant doesn't seem to mind or care. It's just like eating stuff, and right now like it's staying focused next to you.
Yeah.
Roll me I will say resolve and survival.
I just maxed out my resolve today.
There you
go.
Nice. For beds, I
Just
know.
to let you know. I figured after the whole like I held my sister against a demon.
Yep.
That was resolve and
And survival.
survival. What the heck is
Oh,
that?
that's right.
I was like, there's no survival here.
I played 3 different systems today, so I am.
I
am a
it'd be
little-
bad.
Let's.
I've got
go-
warfare and weaponry.
Yeah, let's go with warfare. I think that.
I mean, I am a survivalist
Yeah.
in my advantages.
Let's go with warfare because that's sort of. It's the kind of stuff you would do like it when you're life as a soldier.
I was just gonna ask you a difficulty.
Yeah.
Doesn't need it.
You know the difficulty.
That's right. You know. Evine, as the carriage is moving around, you're like, I should do this more often. You
Nice echo.
you basically get a good vantage point. You don't think anybody's seeing you. You have the 2 Ison mercenaries flanking this carriage, and you're like, from where I am, I probably could hold myself with my legs and still draw my bow. It's great. Like I could potentially do some pretty sneaky shit back here.
Noted.
The idea crosses your mind of requesting a custom-made carriage at some point. The design is popping in your head. Where you're like, we could have like a hidden compartment back here. It would be great. As you are working, Zhenya, the elephant keeps bumping against you, right? And
I have to move these plants.
you get a sense, and you've been getting it most of the week, but it's getting to that point. It's basically trying to tell you,
Shit coming out.
I want out of here.
I know.
And
I don't know where I'll put you yet, but I'll put you somewhere.
he's getting antsy, right? Like he's and there's a mix. It makes you feel a little melancholy because it's a mix of like there's too many people and I'm freaked out and I don't know what to do and I shouldn't be here and there's like a big like it's all of this like panic.
Mm-hmm.
It's also mixed with like this is not my home.
Yeah.
I should not be here.
Poor elephant.
She puts her hand up and holds his trunk.
Yeah. And he seems sort of comforted by that. Like you can tell, even in this primitive way to sort of communicate with you, like there's a sense that he sort of you understand, right? And meanwhile, you are very harshly snapped to reality because guests have started to arrive over there, and you hear all sorts of comments from, the nobility over there. It's like, look at this. Oh my, they went all in. Look at that. Like you get a lot of nobility's like mild amusement at this, and you're like, you fuckers are gonna forget this after you're gone.
If you're alive. You're playing
Yeah.
anyone standing.
I mean, we're not here to kill everybody, but
Don't we have a list of people we can kill?
it's a
first?
long list. Yeah, no, I mean,
You have a list of everybody who's
I
here,
feel like-
so.
a lot of people here.
Well, no, and my notes actually
Deserves to
say that we
There's-
have a list of people that would be
Oh,
okay
okay.
if they died.
Yep.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, there's one dude that we're specifically supposed to kill, and then
Yeah,
there's a group of
Baron,
people that are like,
not the Duke, the
yeah,
Baron.
the Baron. And then
That's
there's
right.
other people where it's like, if they happen to die in the process.
I mean,
whoops.
Yeah. You actually,
Happy accident.
in fact,
There
like
are
it
mistakes.
gets, you have to calm yourself down a little bit because like there's a group of ladies that pass by, like with their families. It's like, look at this, so big. It's like they're just like laughing at it. And one of them is like, so vulgar. Oh my god. It's just,
Crack.
Wow, you're just like, you're really testing Jimmy up here.
Oh, it's so vulgar.
Oh, before we get too much
Drunk
into this, did we figure out on that map that we looked at the night before, like, where this exchange would happen, or?
There's
have
2
no
rooms in the house where it can happen.
Yeah.
what are the
Well,
other?
part of your guys' job is to try and fake it.
idea?
So
Yeah.
you gotta start finding targets and working them.
And there are also good rooms for killing people in.
That's
Well,
right.
Yeah, I have the
Because
3
we're
and
gonna
4
kill the shit
safe spots, but I didn't remember about the 2 rooms, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've narrowed it down just based on the massive amount of information that you guys
Yeah,
got.
right.
We
Um,
found Jared found toasted coconut Cheerios.
Ooh.
They're really good.
Coconut.
I had a bowl this morning because he brought them home like yesterday. And I was like, what I got? And I was like, fuck you.
So you guys are embedded in. The event is working in. For those of you who are in the carriage,
With milk and a spoon.
you are approaching the estate. The
Don't forget we have code names.
yes.
So I'm Kiki.
I need to write those down.
I got them right here for you.
I'm
I got them all.
Natasha
Where are they on
Borsnikov.
This
Yeah.
page. What's his name?
Her name's Margarita. I know
Oh yeah,
that.
that's weird.
Are we on a first name basis? I guess if we're on the same carriage.
I only wrote the first name, so. Except for myself.
Margarita, Benedetta, Angelica, Propetera.
That's me, right?
And then Kiki Maria Josefina Sabrina de la Vega.
And Patricia O'Reilly.
Yeah,
No, really.
that's right. Kelly McIrish.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Now we have 2 Mambo number 5 jokes.
Nice. All right. While I'm writing these down, Evie, roll me a finesse. 1 second. Yep, finesse and hide will work.
Okay.
And remind me of this, Rethel, when you made these names, are these supposed to be associated with Mendez y Mendez, or was it completely
know.
separate?
These are all independent personalities, for this event.
Okay.
And after that second or third hour of the party, when Rethel's supposed to be off for the night, I put my hair up differently, re-braid the braids in my beard
To go in instead of out.
to do kind of
Yeah.
I
braid
do
goes up.
I do like smudging on my under eye to make it look like I've got huge bags to sort of change the shape of my face.
Right.
I flip my coat inside out
Wow.
He's got the stage makeup.
and
Yeah.
He
I
moves his hair back.
and I
He
drop
lives for the story.
and I drop the kilt.
Whoa, was there anything under there?
No, I was wearing breeches earlier.
Okay.
And so now Carl Johansson
Yeah, that's right.
is
will make his appearance.
and out of my pack I pull out a like bandolier / hip pack of what appear to be kitchen knives, but are actually all balance throwers.
Nice.
And then I go into the kitchen and find a nice bloody apron and throw that on top of everything. And then I just light up a pipe, and I'm on break.
Awesome. Okay.
7, by the way.
7?
7?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll let you know in a second what was the result of this. So yes, the gate is open. The carriage very gracefully makes its way down the path to the gatehouse. If you look through the window, you see Xavier sort of step down and hand a very fancy-looking envelope to the guard, who basically looks it over, sort of peeks a little bit inside of the carriage.
Do you and all of your cleavage lean out of the...
Oh no, because now she's.
Oh, now she's trying to act the part?
Oh yeah, no. Now we're in party mode.
Okay.
Now we're playing
So-
the game.
So she is the essence of elegance.
Okay, because that's
I've got
also a
my
great
face
distraction. So I was just,
Mostly covering my fan was covering my face and my eyes just looking over,
Right.
looking imperiously.
They're basically looking to make sure nobody's hiding.
extra bodies.
Marilena, you almost jump for a second because Evie is seated right next to you. Somehow, she found a way to get inside the carriage without you noticing.
While it was moving.
Yep. So,
Okay.
good thing you're covering your face with your fan because your shoulders got you a little. Oh, that wasn't supposed to be here. But yes,
You could warn her, brother.
it takes a second and then the carriage moves just a little bit. You get brought to the guest entrance. Xavier comes down, opens the door, and a crier basically announces all of you as you are helped to get off the carriage. Announcing Lady Kiki Maria Josefina Sabrina de la Vega, Lady Margarita Benedetta Angelica Propetera,
Also,
Lady Patricia O'Reilly. Xavier helps all of you sort of come down and closes the door to the carriage. He leans towards you, Marilena, and says, I will bring the carriage around. Mr. Mendez knows how to reach me. And he, as he closes the door, very subtly, you actually see him like pop the side of the door and you see like 2 pistols sort of loaded under the bench and he just closes the door. And
He's ready to go loud.
He brings the carriage around. You see Jose is actually down, and once again, like he steps next to you and he's ready. Like the shoulders are, rolling back.
Takes his arm.
One hand on his sword pommel, the
That
other.
arm candy, yeah.
That's right. He's ready.
Agreed to like common ground, socialize and preparedness.
That's
Or are
right.
we okay?
Yeah, we're basically we're trying to make it seem like we might be the person so that we can actually find the person who is the person
That's right.
and get them alone.
We're gonna play a little bait and switch and try to run interference.
Okay.
Wrestled.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not back there with her and the elephant and whatever plant she's talking to, and I'm posted up and I'm lighting a second pipe, and I'm like, they should be arriving about now, because I'm like
Yes.
looking at where the things are shifting through the estate.
And where you're posted, you can actually hear, because they posted the crier at a spot where like the guests that have arrived in the inner courtyard. You can actually hear who's coming in. So it's actually a good spot for you to see who's arriving. So you hear the fantastic names you've come up with.
Two
getting
large
called out.
clouds chuckle out of my throat, and and I start singing. I start singing sort of quietly to myself, mostly, a raiding song. And if there's any Vestin about, they'll probably be a little confused by the butcher out back on his break.
Yes. All right. Sorry, taking a couple of notes here.
Mm-hmm.
You see another carriage coming in, and you hear, more guests being called out. Brethel, since you're paying attention to this, eventually, you hear a couple more guests being called out, including Lady Luna Maria. There's a clearing of the throat that there's the expectation of a last name that never comes.
To like the scene in the movie, that's all audible while it's still a close up on me, and just two streams of smoke come out of the nostrils with the smile.
And introducing Madame Salvadora Citamun Santiago. Since you get a shot of it over there.
I imagine that jump.
Luna Maria is
her just resplendent.
full butler, just dressed like to the nines, white gloves.
Her and Xavier dressed in the same.
That's right.
Share the same tailor.
She's dressed in like a good steel gray outfit, but long tailcoat, white gloves, right? And she helps Salvador descend, who is in a glorious black and gold dress. Plenty of décolletage. The lady is not afraid. And her hair is doing something up and crazy.
Yeah. Show that heritage.
That's right. And she comes down, no fucks given. You hear some of the nobles, like, under the fans.
Ooh,
Some hushed,
Yeah.
right?
How?
But
Yeah.
you hear that it's hushed.
Oh yeah. No.
A lot of them are whispering, but they would not dare say anything louder than this.
Jenya flicks a dirt clod at like a chunk.
Yep. That lady never saw you. She'll walk inside, never knowing, with dirt tracked on her
It
dress.
looks a little like a turd. It's the perfect. It's the perfect dirt clod.
You talked
Yep.
about the elephant, and I let you live, but you talked
Yeah,
about
yeah. The elephant don't care.
I let it slide.
That's right.
And you actually here, just a little bit further, the cart come in. You see a lot of red robes on there. They're like, oh, here come the priests.
I spit.
Um,
I think no matter where we are, the entire party just spits.
and yes, your spit is warranted because just a second after that,
going around with a spittoon, like trying to catch all the spit.
you hear announcing His Grace Inquisitor Ramon Juarez,
They misspelled ass.
accompanied by Mother Lucia Bellamore and Rethold. Your spine tingles immediately
Yeah.
as you've created you
Oh,
haven't seen that name on the
shit!
list.
I kind of remember this.
The name was not on the list.
Lucia Bellamore?
Mm-hmm. You don't recall having seen that person there. You've looked at Juarez entourage. That name wasn't on it. So there's been but Rethold, even though she's unrecognizable, you know, she just looked like a good church girl. She cannot fool you because you know her true name.
Carmelita Mondavi.
No.
Oh.
Different lady, Julia Lombardo.
Oh, that's okay.
Your friend who
That
poisoned
fucker.
that
Oh,
worker
that-
in.
oh, okay.
You've actually asked for her true name, so
Yes,
now
yes.
her mother disguise.
And she's hooked onto the Prophet's sword.
Yes.
In this event.
As it appears, she looks like she's working for the Inquisition, doing some dirty work. Because there was this guy that you guys were working at the docks that was right about to spill the beans and worked with
I was
her,
so upset about
and
that.
she poisoned them right here in the
Yeah, I flag Carlos immediately. Like as soon as I see that tray, that coat, whatever it is, I'm like, or Carlos, Jose, my Jose.
Yes.
I grab him, and I'm like, grab a tray of, I'm gonna go with whiskey, and make sure you serve them to our dear friends, and mention and say I am Job, because I think we all know what that means. And then I saunter through the garden to the tree where I think Evine should be.
Yes, Evine. There's a lot of people. Unfortunately for you, there's a lot of big wigs around here, so it's fairly easy for you to move unobstructed. Roll me another finesse and hide. Unless you engage people directly, you can basically make your way towards the tree. Yeah, no, that the lady is basically like she's dressed. You sort of look like this. She's dressed like a church girl. You're like, that ain't no church girl. But Rethold, it's clearly like nobody else, recognizes or notices. But for you, the true name is just like alive. She looks the same as she looked to you in the tavern that day when you swore to track her down.
Oh, that's the lady that killed the guy that I was trying to hit on.
Yep.
To pump for information. Okay, now I remember.
The guy with the very luxurious mustache.
Yes, who was bad in his job.
Yeah.
Another 7.
All right, Evine, you manage using a waiter with a tray full of hors d'oeuvres as a distraction. He leans over to offer them, and in that second, you duck behind him and you're up the tree. Nobody's any the wiser.
Yeah.
And I sort of sing-songy in the same tempo of whatever song I was singing.
Mm-hmm.
I basically am like, Evine, our old friend from the bar that one night, Julia Lombardo, is here as a sister?
Mother.
As a mother, Lucia Bellamore, who
Hmm.
just came in, as part of the Prophet Sword entourage. So hopefully, whatever ends that person is affecting won't interfere with ours. So just as a heads up.
Evine, as he says that, if you turn towards the guest entrance, you can actually see the lady. You don't recognize her, but you see the lady. You know, so she's in view. If she needs to be taken out, she can be taken out, unless she goes inside to one of the blind spots right now. As an operative, it does cross your mind, well, I can try to track her movement. If she's involved with them, there's a chance she might be making contact. So if we keep eyes on her,
Should we audible and have you keep a tab on her and maybe grab a carrion crow to take your spot?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like she has a serious potential to fuck things up.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I'll get a Jose on it. So have fun.
Perfect.
Will you get 5?
So
Do we have to roll anything?
Yes.
I'm gonna go back to my smoke, and
Right.
as soon as Jose with the tray comes back out, I'm gonna be like, go out to the tunnel. We need a solid sniper crow to post up in this tree.
Crow snipes.
Give him the rundown as you guys come back.
Corvus snipe.
Absolutely. And he's off.
It's
Yeah.
Pokemon.
As you look towards the guest area, you actually see Carlos going to offer booze, and he leans over to say something to the lady, and you see Juarez is not paying attention to this. Like, he grabs and he's talking. There's already like a bunch of people like talking to him, but he says something, and you notice almost immediately Julia, for just the blink of an eye.
Oh, no. I didn't mean for him to get her.
Okay.
I meant for him to get drinks that would remind these two.
Mm-hmm.
And to serve them, to signal to them that this
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't want her to know shit.
Gotcha.
So,
You
yeah.
want for me to do what?
To watch out for this lady.
You Carlos
to
goes
try
to
and
see
remind
both
you
of you
about this woman
with
and
a
be
glass
like,
of liquor,
"Mwah." So yeah.
and he hands it to you, and as he hands it to you, it's like, have job, and just hands it over, which for you reminds you of the angle you were working with Rethold at that table when he
Yeah.
pretended not to speak a word of the language.
Yeah.
I was trying to get Mustache Man to hire him. And then with his chin, he nods towards the mother that's by Juarez.
And I like.
You see her. You don't recognize her, but you see her. And then he does the same to you. You see your boys actually like eye him over like a little bit as he approaches you for a drink and sort of puts up a hand. And he tells you the same thing.
Okay.
And just points with his chin towards the lady that's with Juarez. I'm not gonna have you guys roll for that. The statement is peculiar enough that you remember that instance. Also, somebody fucking died when that happened. So
Yeah.
I feel like as soon as I hear that, I take that drink and I slam it.
you get a nod of appreciation from Carlos at the drinking. But yeah, he carries the tray without another word and just goes back to the front. Guess they're starting to mingle. You see that the Inquisitor is very popular. Of course, like there's a lot of nobles like trying to curry his favor, right? It's a little nauseating to see.
Yeah. Yep.
The lady with him, so the mother, like is definitely playing up the very, calm and demure side, but now that you know, you can tell that she's doing that and her head's on a swivel, right? Like she's sort of looking around and you know, she's doing it very expertly. If you didn't know or weren't watching her, like it looks fairly natural, but you're like, yeah, that bitch is scoping around. Are you separated at this point, or
Yeah,
okay?
we're on like different sides of the room.
Okay.
So I think that I am, like, after having done that first gulp, I am actively trying to make it seem like I'm getting drunk, but I'm not actually getting drunk.
Perfect. Roll me a.
And I'm also, like, you know, chatting.
Roll me
Sorry,
a. I'm trying to look at your
This?
sheet. Wits and convince. As you're playing that role. Jose is sort of leaning closer. He's like, any leads? Anywhere we should be going?
But I'm not quite sure yet how to approach. I have to think about
You give me the word. He sort of straightens up a little bit and sort of keeps watching around. It's starting to get packed.
Oh, gotta do the display math.
Jimena is also keeping an eye out for our host.
Oh yeah, absolutely. From having looked at the documentation that Retho and Evine and Zhenya worked on, you know that in about 20 minutes or so, according to the event flow, like people are supposed to assemble inside in the great hall where the Baron will basically do like a formal welcome to the guest and lead the formal toast. And after that, there'll be like a little bit more mingling. There's supposed to be more entertainment in the courtyard. After that, they're gonna have the elephant do some stuff, and there's supposed to be entertainers, like this entertainment, like a bunch of like acrobats and jugglers and folks from Montaigne are supposed to be there.
Got 6.
That's right.
6.
Mhm.
All right, you managed to play it out. You actually get a couple of men actually like walk in your way and be like make sort of offhand comments at you like, I do enjoy a woman who can hold her liquor.
Laugh. Oh, I am recently entering the social scene. My husband died too young.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. Do you need a guide? I do know a lot of people here.
Oh, I would very much appreciate that.
You can call me Alfonso. He sort of very dramatically leans over to kiss your hand. Yes, as you.
Margarita is what I say.
It was a drive-by fruiting.
Yeah, he so leans over to kiss your hand, and there's a very quick look up after he does that to catch your eye briefly, right?
I smile at it.
He offers you his arm. You sense just a slight hesitation as your boys sort of like close ranks a little bit, but
Wave my fan at them. They're
Yeah.
so overprotected. That's what I pay them for, but still. I want to have some fun!
Well, that sounds like good security. They seem very good at their jobs.
Of course.
And so he sort of takes you around a little bit, and you know this guy is probably a little bit full of hot hair, right? Like he's telling you like who's who there, but he doesn't seem to know anybody of consequence, right? Like he stops a couple times and introduces you to minor nobility, right? Like, but he'll indicate like, oh, this is so and so, right? Like, but doesn't approach to introduce you, which seems to
Jimenez
indicate
doing the
it's like.
opposite. Jimenez pulling a wedding crasher like, oh my god, it's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you since makeup name's wedding. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Oh, you
Yeah.
remember.
That's
Oh,
right.
thanks.
You get a lot of confused look. You get a lot of like, yes, of course, right? Like just playing along,
Yeah.
no clue.
I don't want to be rude because she looks important.
That's right.
Yeah, because she is all
Oh, she's
sorts.
decked up.
Yeah, she is decked out. She looks rich as fuck right now.
Nice.
Fake
It's all
jewelry.
paste.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, like if you took one of these
What
and
do
bit into it, it would probably
What do I need to
stick
roll
great.
to lead him on just enough that he does something that I can construe as rude and slap him so I can leave him?
Roll me another convince.
Yeah, I don't have
She's
to
trying to find the right person to introduce her.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, we met. I'm like, what? I don't think I have.
Right.
Oh, let me introduce you. Okay.
If you insist. That would be.
This is my manservant, Jose.
That would be 4.
Okay.
Actually, no, I won't use the cards yet.
Building up from your previous success, you sort of manage to send him enough mixed signals that he moves on you just a little too much, right? He gets overly familiar, rookie mistake.
Yeah, I want to very publicly make him look like he is harassing me.
Right.
Just to like see if I can pull in a bigger
Dang.
bigger fish that tries to save me from the lout.
Right. Well, that's you managed to redirect that in a way that so he sort of moves in on you and then whispers something in your ear because he's sure he's got this clinched,
Ew.
and you immediately reel in and smack him right across the face. It's very loud. It's very public.
Whoa! What?
You guys.
What's in the bathroom?
Hello.
Surprise! Bravo.
He seems.
The soap dispenser turned me into a scene from There's Something About Mary.
Oh, yes.
Right in the super scene.
Nice.
I was like, oh, let me dispense some. Ha
That's right.
It is very zealous.
Oh my. That's what I do.
That's perfect.
Ours did the thing where like there was a little bit of soap that got like dried out like, right in the thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get. I was like, what? And so I didn't do like the rookie mistake thing where I like slammed it
Yeah.
down, but I was like, why isn't it? And then I just pushed it and went, and I was like, oh, that's
Oh, it's like when you like
fine.
get a ketchup bottle and you go, oh come on. Then suddenly
Yeah. The glop.
Well, and then there's like that, and then like the little piece that got like that congealed goes like, plunk, and then it
Yeah.
always gets stuck to something weird, and you have to be like, oh.
Yeah, no, I have
wanna
my
eat that.
the aftershave lotion that I have. It does that. So after the end, I have to shake it to make sure that it's all out. It's really
Gotta shake it all out.
you don't want it to have a seal because then it's just gonna
Well, my
overload.
my
That's
shampoo
right.
doesn't do
Yeah.
that, but my conditioner does. So every time I use it, I have to make sure to close the little
Mhm.
like snap thing.
Yeah, so
Because if I leave it
properly
up,
punctures the.
Yeah.
if I leave it up, it'll just block the entire thing. And then I'm like, why won't it? And then when it finally does, it just like blows all over
$8
the
a
shower,
conditioner. Yeah.
right? It's like this conditioner bottle is like $20 a bottle. Oh my god, I can't waste any of it.
I'm sorry. Who's getting smacked upside the face?
Well,
A guy
so
that was trying to hit on
Marilena's playing acting, so she found herself a man to show her and around.
And then he.
But-
Yeah.
When he
know
got too
anybody.
untowered, she worked this up, and he made the rookie mistake of being too presumptuous. So now he got smack right across the face. Your
Nice.
boys are moving in a way that makes him immediately nervous, and he's sort of sputtering, and he's like, "No, please, like, please do not." And the moment he does that, you see another swarthy-looking gentleman sort of moving in on that territory, and immediately just hand on the pommel of his sword, just like moves towards the man and says, "You will want to desist. The lady does not want your company, and you should accept defeat and step away."
Damn!
Him and
Stand
his
up
wedding
and
crasher
say-
thing people. And pretending like she's met them before.
Yeah.
The Alfonso is sort of looking, and there's a half-hearted like, "But yes, I will take my leave." And he sort of looks back and see like your two guards like giving the
Coons.
just, and
I was almost
he
hoping you'd do one more thing so then I can really throw him out into the pool.
he takes a step back and does a very exaggerated bow, and he steps
I
out.
sniff and look away and introduce myself to the next man.
The gentleman grabs your hand and is like, "You are unharmed, I hope."
Oh, yes, other than my
Only physically.
other than my
he-
sensibilities, he assumed too much.
He takes your hand, kisses the back of it, and then says, "Eduardo Alferete, if you prefer, I can accompany you.
I would very much prefer.
I know you
somebody
have."
who can show me around and is not lying to get inside my skirt.
Oh
I
dear.
I would never dare.
Good.
And he offers you his arm, and it sort of takes you around. Seems to know a lot of the high-ranking military personnel over there. You actually have to direct him away for a second, because, and let me get Jenya in on this.
Oh yeah.
Jenya, roll me a straight resolve roll.
Oh no.
Someone's picking on my little girl.
Hannah is flirting with every man. It seems
Two?
like slightly
Two.
bored.
Okay. You manage to hold yourself in check
They seem straight or not.
Because-
They're getting flirted with.
as
Someone will want to go into another room at some point. She
in
knows exactly where to take.
in our getting
Killing
announced a
They want
Gotta make sure they're on the list.
of guests.
Uh-oh.
General Auguste Maurice Gauthier
Oh yeah.
and his wife.
No.
It's those fuckers.
Oh,
But the freaking general
That's
Yeah.
right.
who was not a duke.
Yeah.
We figured that out.
So they are both getting introduced and stepping in. So for a second you're like, these assholes. They're both here, and like sort of starting to mingle in, and you see a nauseating amount of people, and it's like fawning over them, right? They're both playing the game, and you all you can think about is your sister at home, and you're just like, I kind of want to break this fence, climb on top of this elephant, and just
liberate.
just liberate.
The smoke in the nostrils just slowly
Right.
sort of billow.
Just sing the song of
Waiting.
my people as
Yeah.
we stomp these nobles to death.
Yeah.
But you refrain, and the
Now is
workers.
not the time to seize the means of production.
That's right. yeah. The
I
proletariat
made a
would not rise
promise
quite
that I
yet.
would do something.
We have to wait for General Mark to die.
And
That's
I-
the signal
I
for
have to
us
keep
to
my
barricade the
promise.
city.
That's right.
Yep. So yes, you see them, but you hold back, and the moment passes. A couple of the workers are cracking a couple jokes as they're working, and you answer with a joke of your own, and the moment is back. And this is relevant to you because as the general is coming in, your new escort, Eduardo, is like, oh, do you know the general? I can get you introduced.
Wait, do I?
Well, yes,
I mean,
because
use combat, but
you all stepped
that
up into his
general.
house.
Yeah.
yeah.
His wife was tackled to the ground.
Yeah,
and
we walked into his courtyard and started
If you
murdering
shot an
people.
arrow through time and courage,
Yeah.
killed him.
Yeah, I know who this is
He
about.
They'll know you.
he got a smelly bottle of like what looked like very thick tar or octopus ink thrown at his face when he was dueling
Okay.
Jimena.
Oh yeah.
I basically do
So-
I did.
oh, actually, I think I need to step outside for a little
Take
fresh
the
air for a minute, if you don't mind.
I absolutely do not. I would be happy to escort you. And he just like leads you away just in time. As you know, fortunately there's a lot of people sort of swarming around, but you know with how fucking pissed that man was that Jimena broke the rule of the duel and that you all fucking left with his daughter, that he hasn't forgotten any of you guys.
Thankfully, my hair is a different color and I'm wearing makeup,
Yes.
so I at least look somewhat different. Be like, is that lady?
Is that Philip Glass?
I am
Sorry.
I am Joe.
Yes.
Loaf of bread.
A gentleman comes back wearing what looks like staff clothes. He's accompanying Jose Luis. And he's carrying a suspiciously small little leather package that he's, keeping it close to him. Jose Luis brings him to you, Rethel, and
Yeah, and I'm like, good evening.
And he says in a very thick Highland March accent,
Alright.
I hear you are in need of my services.
Well, I'm in need of a good bird.
That I can provide.
Something pretty to perch in this tree here. And at the right call to swoop down and take out something either as we're sort of walking
Right.
either over here or over here. We are generally on
Mm-hmm.
this is a priority target, and I basically give him a rundown of whoever we can see, and I'm like, that bitch looks like she's at all fucking around. Give me a caca.
Right.
We got someone else on her right now, but she's shifty.
Jenny's gonna kill those people, so
Yeah.
keep an eye.
And I'm like, we don't like these people. This guy really should die by the end of the night. We'll see how that happens. And if stuff starts to get weird when you see this, these are I'm giving
You
the
see
whole.
him sort of, he nods his head, and as you indicate, Julia, he's sort of nodding, and he looks at her like very intently. He's listening to you and nodding, but he just keeps looking in her direction. And as he does, you see him pull it's like a little ring like on his thumb that has like a little claw, and he reaches into his pack, and you see sort of the end of a wooden object, which you assume might be the top of a bow, and he just rubs just a little notch as he's watching and closes the pack.
Alright.
And was like, it will be done. You
Okay.
give the signal, it's over.
Sure. And you're helping too. So me and the elephant woman over here. This is our post, but
Yes.
who knows when we'll be.
Yes.
Which is a problem, because right now that elephant, like the paint is fine, but they're now trying, they brought like a couple of steps, and he's supposed to be doing things later, and they're having the hardest time. He keeps like rolling back and turning out to go hang with you, and they're just like, come back here, right? And a couple of times you have to scold them because they
Don't you touch him.
right. They
I'll
get a
break
little
your
handsy,
fingers before you touch him.
and then after a while they're like, could you just walk in here with us? That will make it like so much easier if you walked in here.
I'm not supposed to leave the thumbs.
No, you were told to work here. They're told to do their job.
Yeah.
So you let them struggle, and it just keeps happening. The elephant is having it. Like it's way past this shit.
I'm done, thank you.
Do I catch any of this? Because
Yeah,
it's kind of
you do.
as soon as I have my conversation with our new friend, I look over at Jose and I'm like, okay. Go ask them if they want you to go find to go find Mr. Mendez to ask if he's got any ideas, and then just come back. Okay.
I will do that.
Yeah.
And he walks again with purpose.
Fuck with my elephant.
I'll have him bring it over here. We don't mind if there's a little party going on in here.
It's gonna scare you off.
Wits
Huh?
and scholarship,
There's a lot of people.
Marilyn. For this.
We gotta put up with some stuff.
Why?
Why? Oh.
What?
We don't mind if people start screaming and fleeing once it starts rampaging. So
Jose Luis, filled with divine
Righteous purpose,
Yes, he's that child is acting this like perfectly. He just walks. You see him like walk towards this, and he does like a good, walk, double take a couple of steps back. He's like, "Is there a problem, gentlemen? Should I be fetching Mr. Mendez about this?" And then one of the guys like, "Yes, please. We can't make this damn beast." And he looks in Genius like direction, and he's like, "We can't make these damn beasts do it."
I mean, this magnificent creature.
Well, okay. Got 6.
6?
Mhm.
Why does she look like she's about to go like knock over a convenience store?
start a rap battle.
So
Wow.
she has to do this thing for work where she's like a woman talking to a man doing like a radio show or like Hello Good Morning America kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So she's practicing her drag king makeup.
This is-
And
Wow. I'm confused right now.
You look like Ricky.
It really does kind of look like Ricky.
You're a pretty man.
Yeah, good looking man.
So yeah, as soon as he comes back, I'm like, okay. Take another lap with the tray or whatever, and then tell them that Mr. Mendez recommends that that maybe set up a new area in the garden with the person who seems to be able to calm the beast, and that way at least you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay, yeah.
And stop interrupting him on his break.
We'll
It's
do
not
that.
great
Yes.
for so long.
Stop panicking for every
So-
little
Okay,
thing.
Well, every time someone interrupts me, I start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mr.
Yeah.
Mendez is technically off for the
Yeah.
rest of the evening, and Johann Karl
Yep.
doesn't have any more work to do. Once he's butchered the thing, he's
Yeah.
just there in case they need
The
to kill
food.
another. Yeah.
The
I'm not
food
cooking
is
it.
being served right now.
Yeah.
There's no more.
Yeah.
There's no more on that front happening. So
I've you know how many filet mignons there are in there? It's fantastic.
oh yeah, the food is pretty choice. Jimena, if you stop by some of those food tables,
She's trying really hard to be like,
Oh my gosh.
just have
that
it-
must be
just
different.
no,
Right.
it's just like,
So many trays fall into that bustle, never to be seen again.
yeah, she's 100% sneaking
Oh, yeah,
things
yeah,
into the folds of all the hidden pockets that exist in her dress.
It's just hooks off of the fucking rings inside the skirt.
Yeah.
It looks like a goddamn barber shop under there. How many hens did you get? Oh, a couple.
So-
2 dozen.
She's gonna shake her skirt out. There's gonna be all sorts of
There's
random
2 families.
I
of
will say that
pheasants.
your eye is open right now. Things are going to keep evolving. There's potential suspects
Okay.
currently, but
Still a little too early.
the official toast has not yet been given.
Oh yeah.
So people,
But
you're
I'm kind of trying
assuming.
to figure, at the very least, where I should focus a little
Yeah.
bit. Narrow the focus a little bit.
Because you can straight up see those ties.
No, but you.
Not. Oh.
So you have some ideas, and of course your girl remains one of the prime suspects. Evine, another man is climbing up the tree.
What? A
Oh,
man's
no.
climbing up your tree? You better kick that.
No, we know it's
Yeah.
good. We agreed on that.
You,
Oh,
you
never
knew he was
mind.
coming, but you can tell he hasn't seen you, but you can see him.
That's good.
He's staying hidden, but he's the stealth portion at least. He's not at your level. There's a couple instances where you see him stop and sort of look up the tree a little bit, and he's like, oh, yep, you know, like he climbs up, but in much longer than would have taken you. And now you are free to go down and reappear in this party.
Okay, I remember now where that guy's there. Okay. Kick him. He's trying to take your tree.
If he hasn't
Keeping it
seen
warm.
you, even coming down, he doesn't seem to have picked you. But you do see him.
No!
He looks. No! I love the microphone picked that, so you're just gonna be a random no.
No, it's gonna be, what's up, guys?
No!
Smash that like button. Like and subscribe.
I hate seeing the icon badges.
Ring the bell.
So I was just trying to clear the badges, and it
Oh.
started
Oh,
autoplay. And I'm like, no!
Oh
Yep,
dear.
that happens.
Like notifications.
Um,
I don't
Yeah, I
think so.
can't.
yeah.
I can't.
Fucking Jared never checks his shit. So like he'll be like, oh here, let me show you this thing on my phone. I can just see like they go all the way across the top, but to the point where like they're all either really tiny or it's just dots because it's run out of space. And I'm like,
It's like a million.
I have 3,492 emails.
I'm not gonna touch. Yeah, just
clear
yeah,
them.
just clear them.
God.
It's like I'm not gonna touch your phone. I'm not gonna do it for you. But like
I know two people who just tabs. All the tabs.
Oh god, no.
All the tabs forever. Oh yeah, just it's like all the why?
so many tabs. And I'm like, why is it going so slow? Like I don't know, mother.
I wonder why.
Maybe all these
That
tabs.
definitely happens when I'm researching stuff for a game.
Like when I get a ton of tabs open, I got a ton of tabs open. Yes, but like
Like tabs are not using.
this
Like they just
this-
open things and then.
yeah, it's brrrr, and then they never seem to go through them ever.
Right.
It's
That one has been open for 6 months.
That's really weird.
Anyway.
Close things.
Evine, if you look
Sorry.
at him while you're coming down, that gentleman, clearly a Highlander. Clearly. That fiery red hair, don't lie.
Lisa, like,
And you
That
actually,
carpet definitely matches them drapes.
Well, if he's climbing up and she's climbing down, she can check.
It's true.
you actually see him,
It's fire in the sky.
right? Fire down below. You actually see him pull a bow out of the pack. It's not a long bow. It's a short bow, probably for concealable reason. It's well made, but your longbow using self cannot help but turn your nose just a slight bit, right?
So tiny.
I know. It's like, well, you can't shoot this far. I'm gonna shoot, people through windows. But
You can't do time. You can't shoot time through time and space with that little
no, it doesn't carry as far. You have to pick one, either time or space.
That's right.
Not both. But yeah, he seems to know what he's doing. Once he's picked a spot, right? Like he's leaning in a way where he can stay seated there, propped for probably hours without, his leg going numb or his butt going numb, right? Like he knows that this happens at so you're like, okay, this dude's probably got this. Yeah, you can make your way down. Because you stealthed so well going up, I'm not gonna have you roll again coming down. Jeez. You just reappear at this party,
I went to relieve her. I don't know what happened.
right? Suddenly you're there, like looking down the fountain. It's like, oh, that's a very nice fountain. Like you're just around.
Eyes fun.
You hear. Well, I'm gonna wait for Virginia to go back for this
Oh, yeah.
bit.
Oh, by the way, can those raises be like cumulative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I
So
said,
the one must be used for some.
your eye is open right now. I'm not gonna have you re-roll at this, and it's not gonna be. It's
I don't
not gonna be
actually have a
wasted.
third eye.
Your head's on a
Or at
swivel.
least if I do, you don't see it.
You're looking at things that nobody else can see. So there's a bell being tolled, and if you study the event flow at all, you know the official toast is going to be here, the introduction to the host, and the welcome speech. So crowds, the staff is sort of asking the crowd to assemble in the grand hall, which is just right off the entrance. And this is where the real game is going to start, because once that is over, that part of the house is also open, which is where your rooms are accessible. So from that point on is where it's figure out who's going to be trying to exchange information. So you're led into this large room, food tables on either side with all sorts of stuff.
Fucking
On the other side of the
fucking
room,
Monterey Jack in that thing, huh? Just
yes.
wafting on the fucking.
On the other side of the room,
She's taking very deep breaths.
Which isn't helping because that gets more of the smell in
that's
here.
right.
She can do it.
So Jimena's just like controlling.
She's got a good amount stowed away already. She can watch.
Jimena, you swivel away from those tables to sort of let the temptation die down. And on the other side of the room is a very long table, wine on one side, spirits. So you're like,
I feel like it's a It's like, Jose,
yes.
would you say it's more acceptable for me to hang out by that table or hang out by that table? Because I can't be in two places at once and this room is very large.
Well, I'm not sure I can speak to what would be more acceptable. The spirits are tempting.
I agree. Okay. She sort of takes a post.
Yes.
Someone's got to protect this booze.
That's right. There's thieves around.
I guess I kind of let Eduardo.
Oh, yeah,
Would
he-
know a good vantage point.
He gets you introduced to a lot of folks on the Castilian military side, and at some point, you basically stop for a second because you're not exactly sure how to react, but quickly recompose yourself because you get brought into this nice-looking middle-aged gentleman, hair tied back, dressed in a very nice, fancy military uniform, and you get introduced, in quotes, to General Alonso Anastasio Cardoso del Torres, which you know as the leader of the Carrion Crows.
Oh shit! Oh yeah, we know that guy. He's fam.
He's accompanied by a lady that you don't immediately recognize, but when you look and see that long-suffering face,
Oh yeah, that's her. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, yeah.
you recognize her as Lieutenant Colonel Beata Winart, and she's wearing a dress,
Nice.
and she hates every second of it.
Every fiber of her being
Yes.
rails against
She's got, like, her dress has got this, like, high neckline, but the she like frees their shoulders and them some shoulders. Like she's got the arms, right? Like she looks like she could bench press some of the guards that are in here, but she hates every second of this. She's standing behind the general right now
Someone's got to sneak in all the weapons under their skirts.
with her arms closed, like just, you know, I'm not paying attention to this fucking conversation. Right. You tell me when you need me. And the general basically grabs your hand and kisses it and, you know, doesn't know you, right?
Ain't nobody know no.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
I, with Spells Conference, 5 successes to make it seem like I have no idea who these are, and also at the same time give very convincing compliments on both of their outfits.
He seems very pleased with that. Well, thank you. Military uniforms, not the most comfortable, but you know we make it work. You hear a grunt from behind him. Yeah. She's just
Thanks.
zoning out, looking elsewhere. And Eduardo just proceeds to lead you into like small talk about the general's accomplishments during the war and how he's now retired.
I am not fascinated.
To a small estate in Norton Castile and has made the trip specifically to be here, right? And they're really embellishing that, and a couple of times you hear a general like, that's not quite how this happened, but yes, so you hear a couple good war stories out of it, but he's not he's met you for the first time.
What is this?
Um,
Her date, the new date. I'm like, who is this fucker?
Oh my, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do I?
Some guy.
Who is this motherfucker?
Showed up.
Mm.
Alonso actually
You mean,
clues.
wait, you mean Eduardo?
No, the general.
Alonso, okay, never mind.
The crow.
Basically, yeah,
Duke.
he's.
No.
Damn it!
No.
There's two Alonsos.
You hear somebody say
Oh,
Duke.
the other one was Alfonso. This one's
You are
Yeah.
correct. It is.
You hear somebody say Duke somewhere, and when you turn around, you don't see anybody.
And all of us are just ready
Damn
to
it.
Yeah. That's the guy we killed, right?
grab it. Grab it.
She found us out.
Hi.
Yes.
Yay.
Buffalo
Okay.
fell asleep.
No,
How much of this did you miss?
not heard it all.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. Alonso basically, like through conversation, clues you in that Eduardo is actually somebody that,
Oh, the fireworks.
right, somebody, you actually can hear that. He tells you that Eduardo was somebody that serves in a number of regiments during the war against Montaigne, that he was rewarded for valor, that he refused to get command because he was happy at the rank of captain and wanted to remain at that level. So refused some commissions and since then has established himself in San Felipe as started a business breeding horses. So he basically breeds horses of Castilian stocks and is starting to gain some recognition for some breeding, but has since left military service and enjoying retirement. So you manage to glean some of that. You're not exactly sure if a general was sort of leading the conversation that way on purpose or not.
Mr. Ware got some dude with horses, but okay.
A couple times you get, interjections from Beata, especially during the war stories, and it's usually graphic shit that she recounts. Because they're talking about that battle. It's like, yeah, that's the one we got stuck in a ditch for 3 days and I had to do a leg amputation between two rocks and it was bleeding everywhere and some of it was in my mouth. And it was, you know,
I feel like I'm trying to play a little more demure than I normally am, so I cover my face. And kind of look a little bit
Almost faked.
lightheaded.
Almost faked several times.
get the
That's
vapors.
like the right.
I do. I get the vapor so very much.
Feeling for twins.
The room is on the one side flanked by two elegantly curving staircases that leads to a balcony. So after a second, the bell resounds again, and a very well-dressed gentleman steps up to the
I mean,
side of the
everybody's
balcony.
kind of well dressed. Are we talking like 11?
Oh
Or-
yeah.
Okay.
You're talking like
Well,
that outfit probably cost about as much as the house you guys are living in.
Wow. Yeah.
Now is it an awesome outfit or is it a ridiculous outfit?
It's a ridiculous outfit.
Oh yeah. Well, because he's Montaigne.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Real quick, have any of us come to the conclusion that our old friend from the bar is the contact?
Not yet.
not yet. We haven't got.
She looks suspicious, but you're not quite sure. She's got her eye open. There's a number of people that look like they might be shifty,
Oh, who have
But
the
we're just
strands?
talking, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
but this is sort of the starting line.
Yeah, we haven't seen enough of the party to really, because I have to kind of soak it in a little more. to get
Sure.
a better
Alright,
read.
cool. Alright.
Whatever
Keep
free
marinating.
mingling happens after this, like, will happen after this part because the show is gonna be happening. There's a smoking room sort of open where somebody has brought in fancy smoking tobacco and cigars from the new world that people are going to be sampling. So there's going to be another networking happening. So the past that point is where the exchange is likely to happen. Well, the house staff sort of steps to the side of the balcony and yells in a very booming voice, announcing His Excellency, Monsieur Léon Valois, Baron d'Auvergne. And he sort of ducks, and there is polite applause all over the room as the Baron just raises.
Yeah, there's some real good loogie
Yeah,
prepping
yeah,
right after that name.
that's right.
You the elephant's like, bitch.
And he's, he one hand on the Genya, he embodies many of the stereotype that you despise about the Montaigne. He has one hand on the railing, and as the applause comes in, he goes a little, he soaks it in.
I hate it, but I respect it.
He doesn't interrupt it. He sort of lets it, wash over him.
Imagine that he looks like Governor Ratcliffe.
Oh, absolutely.
Fucking-
That is a pretty good.
Like the part where he's imagining himself being like
Yep.
knighted by the king for finding all the gold in Virginia that doesn't exist, and he's got
Yes.
the ruffles and the.
Oh, so many ruffles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ruffles
That's
for
what I
days.
imagine.
Them ruffles dog.
So he basks in it. You after a little while, like you see him almost reluctantly hold a hand to the crowd, right? Then says, "My honored guests, thank you for being here today. My infinite appreciation to Governor Perez," and he sort of points to the crowd, and you actually see the mousy governor with his retinue in there, and there's polite applause. Breathled as you swivel, you see really close to him a familiar, tall, dark figure, impeccably dressed, awesome hat, accompanied by Grande Seraphine himself. So she's here with Sebastian, which Yeah, no, he's there with the hat, like the plume, bright red, right?
Flew for days.
And the bow indicates her next. And Grande Ushia Seraphine. Another round of applause, and she sort of raises a hand for letting us use this beautiful venue for this party. As you know, it is my wish to acquire this venue. If you enjoy tonight's events, be prepared for more of this in the future.
And just sort of under her breath, I'm gonna put the
I can help.
I'm like, oh, it's a nice place though.
Oh, I gotta
I'm just gonna murder everyone in it.
It just needs a better
just
owner.
those acrobats.
Like-
That fucker.
I mean,
The house did
we can
nothing
own
wrong.
it.
Bad juju now.
Oh.
That was bad luck.
Chop off the nose despite the face. No,
Right.
come on.
There is a little bit of a long piece where there are thanks exchanged to many of the local nobility.
I think we have this. I think we have a short version of this exchange, which is
Yep.
where she's like,
And it's,
needs to
you
all
know-
back to needs to all go back to Petrushka, and I'm like, why? It's a nice house.
It's like maybe that could be our headquarters.
Ah.
Yeah, so he's basically just paying lip service to a lot of the local nobility, right? Like some of these people were not warranted to be part of the speech, but you know he's trying to make a good impression and get this house. So he's kissing up a little bit by mentioning them. Yeah,
I feel like after a while, I
totally.
kind of like under my fan to a word. I'm like, what's a little bit long-winded? I
Including Genia, your throat tightens once again as he thanks General Gautier.
Yeah, you don't hear me at all as I'm
Right.
like Mendez could use a new office maybe.
Yeah.
And then I see the blood pound through your eyes. I'm like, we're not.
Actually, roll
General's
me a wits plus notice if you're looking through the crowd on that. Because as he introduces General Gautier, like he goes into unnecessary details about how they were brothers during the war,
Oh, get on with it.
that you could not hope for a better man at your side, that although they were fighting on the wrong side during that conflict, as they were fighting for Montaigne, the axe has been buried, and we should be looking forward to a new era of peace between the two nations. There's actually some scoffing in the crowd as he mentions
Jimena is like laughing in there.
Right.
She's trying real hard to keep it together, but she's just like,
Genia. Okay, you got 3. As he introduces Gautier, if you look around the crowd, the Grande, like, Ushia is not paying attention to that part at all. And Sebastian, rarely, because he's always, looks like he's fuming. And he's looking at the Baron like, if only I could look you to death.
Right, because
You-
he kind of wants
right.
him to be dead. He's the one that's supposed to kill, so it's
If
good.
you do that gesture, he has like his glass and makes the ice clink in it, raises it, and just downs it. So now, after he's done just including everybody and their moms into this part of the speech, he says, "Now, we have many things scheduled for your enjoyment tonight. Food, drinks, a troupe from my home country coming in to entertain you, along with exotic animals for your enjoyment," and you hear some clapping at that. Please,
Time to be an elephant. Just trample through people.
right? Enjoy yourselves. Have a great evening, and hopefully too many more in the future. And he just takes a step back and takes a bow. There's more applause, which once again he soaks in, There's a
Slightly too slow.
No, it's the
So you know how
where there's no sound.
yep.
you imagine Eradicate or whatever the fuck his name is. I imagine the peculiar purple pilot for Porcupine Pete. Just
That's
this
not-
dumb, gangly, like
Or
yeah.
because you have gloved hands, it doesn't. You can actually make contact
Yep.
without making noise.
Just like-
Yeah.
And as he does that, a much younger lady
Ew.
in a very opulent dress.
I can afford the
Yeah.
youngest prostitute.
That's right.
Yes, Cassie.
Sort of comes to his arm, and she's all smiles, and that jewelry that she's wearing could probably feed several families around here for a few
Humana
years.
has a new target.
Okay. So she's just some vapid hoe, not like a
Oh,
like a legitimate
she was
power
a
anyway.
Now she's
she's-
the mark.
She is
Yeah.
soon to not be a vapid hoe.
Or
anymore.
anything.
Um,
Except worm food, maybe.
and yeah, with that,
Let's
She
not
will not
insult
be
the
joined.
worms, though.
She will not be joining us for the rest of
with that, a curtain is drawn from below, revealing a full live orchestra that basically starts to play some music. A few couples are taken to the floor to dance. He is coming down the steps, and you can already see the crowd of kiss ass, just sort of swarming the bottom of the steps to start to come his way. And the whole time, he's coming down and making gestures as people are saluting him. The lady is just
I say out loud to the garden. I'm like, oh, they did put in that extra couple hours of practice. Good for them. Nice.
Yes, it is.
Humana moves over to that crowd. She's mostly, for right now, she's not approaching the Baron. She's just waiting to hear someone say that lady's name.
I
She
am
just wants to find out what that lady's
thankful
name is.
that Mena goes there first, because I don't want any of that.
Don't we know who it is?
No,
No.
Not the
this,
lady.
she's just a random thought.
Okay.
Yeah, she's much younger. Rethold, if you look at her from where you're like 18, maybe?
Question mark.
Question mark?
I think at this point in time, I let myself be danced with for a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time with one person. But now that I know a few more people's names, I people
so
know more.
chocolate, yes.
Yeah, because I have 4 dots in my
Right.
national performing hands, so I'm just gonna.
It's too early for that. I just need something.
Right. If you're listening for a name, you hear Mademoiselle Lucie being told a few times. She introduces herself
She
as
sure is.
Amandine.
Ooh.
So yeah, there's plenty of people, and you can tell there are people trying to figure out, is this going to be a thing, or is this,
What's on this piece?
Humana, once she's heard the name enough times, is just gonna kind of come up and be like, oh, I'm on, and she's not gonna say her name right, but her accent. So,
right?
like, Amandina, hola, it's been so long since I've seen you.
She is like, hi, yes, yes.
Oh. What if she have like a wits of one?
And then she,
Yes.
excuse me, Senor Baron, would you mind if I steal her for just a minute? Just a minute. We are old friends. I would like to talk to her.
You actually catch him for a second, like he grasps your hands and he's like, not at all, madame, and kisses it, and you catch the head to toe
Ew,
look, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
As
yeah.
he leans
Which
over.
Vomits her mouth.
She
God, no.
holds back her shudder because she's like, no, this is what I want. This is what I'm going for. But also,
I got what I wanted and I didn't like it.
You give him what you wish for.
I don't want it.
And then as he rises up, like after he kisses your hand, he's like, please do bring her back in one piece. Otherwise, I will have to find a replacement. And he sort of leans a little bit.
That's all you, lady. That's all you.
Yeah.
That's what we're going
Oh,
for.
hell yeah. We're gonna catfish the Baron, yeah.
Like, oh, don't worry.
At
you're
least you
little
know
heart.
that as soon as you're alone with him, he's so
She's
dead.
she's
You
like,
can make
oh,
it slow.
oh, don't you worry. And she just kind of, and it's
Yeah.
like, come with me. I want to talk to you. I'm like, so boring.
She looks confused, like she watches
And
like
she,
the
like,
both
looks
of
over
you
her
like
shoulder.
chat for a second, and she's like, both of her hands together, like, what just happened?
Oh, get up.
Right? Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah. So she
You
takes
gone,
her.
Todd?
Right.
Yeah. She takes her over to the once again to the booze table. It's like,
Oh yeah, just get her blitzed.
just like, what do you drink?
And now we do shots.
Like, I haven't seen you in so long. What do you drink?
Wine? Yeah. Wine would be good.
I'm sure it would be
Oh,
okay.
It has been long. Like, remind me again, what was the last time?
And then
Oh, you were this big.
Yeah.
Like, no indicator of how.
yeah, like all vague, like, oh, don't you remember? You were riding your horse and blah, blah, blah.
How was your mom? How
Yeah,
was
like-
it?
And it's like, mom's dead. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't
Since when?
This is what did happen? Oh my
What?
goodness.
Bored.
She really has any
Yeah,
brain cells, you don't have to roll anything.
there's a couple of stumbles, but you get a sense that like she's out of her depth, right? Like
Yeah.
she's very pretty and she's very sweet.
Oh,
She's not used to this kind of life,
Oh, yeah.
and she's just like
yeah, get her
it's-
blitzed and she will.
shit
not
is
be a
going
problem.
fast right now.
Yeah.
People say hi to
She
me.
gets-
Nobody spit at me yet. This is fantastic.
She grabs 2 wine goblets and makes sure to tip her hand over and like taps. And she has a ring. She made herself.
Perfect.
And she's like, oh, here you go.
Aw, I give her a roofie. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
For her own good.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
going to
yeah.
do anything
We're
untoward.
moving
I'm,
her
I'm
ass
a
for this
little
equation.
nervous, and she's, you know, like
Like,
you can tell, like as we
like,
get
I
into drink.
100% bet that someone like sold this poor girl's virginity to this bear.
It's
God!
It's
No.
actually worse. Well, in a way, in the sense that you hear that she basically worked for some lady that was in an arranged marriage to the Baron, and then the Baron basically like was like, oh yeah, your attendant is more to my liking, and
Yeah.
basically straight up reached out to her parents and be like, hey, so why don't you have her enter my service, right?
You.
Um,
No, yeah, this guy's gonna get murdered real hard. But yeah, she slips her a Mickey, essentially.
This is gonna calm you down real quick.
yeah,
It's like,
and
here
she's
you go.
she's already getting red, right? Like she drank like half a cup of
I
wine.
was like,
and
careful, that
she's-
dog might eat them.
Yeah.
That's one.
Which are you?
Here's Roger.
I had you
She's taking in the threshold. She just came back in.
nail fill in my bag.
Where's the name, Amanda?
I don't think it
Yeah,
matters.
bump mic.
Oh, okay.
Oh, ah, oh, scared me. Oh.
Booped her nose.
I went to scoop my
Oh.
chair and the dog like licked my hand, and I wasn't expecting that to
She's
happen
very-
because I was
very
looking
much
at the
like-
cat.
I'm watching text right now.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, she's half a cup of wine, like even before you saw, like she was starting to get red, right? Like it was like it was hitting her face, like you could see the cheeks and the ears, and it doesn't take long after, and she starts to slur, and she's just like, you know, I am so glad that you're like my only real friend. here,
Oh my.
and like for a second, like
Honey, you don't know how to say that.
she's struggling, like she doesn't even remember your
Oh,
name,
Yeah,
right?
She's gonna be under the table so
And she
quick.
feels
She finds, like, she just kind of like walks her,
One of those nice drapes.
yeah,
Those are real nice.
walks her out, like, walks her into a hallway, and it's like, just finds a
It's a
closet.
good place to
Like, set
deposit her.
Just like, set her down gently, like, here you go, take a nap, you'll thank me later.
So much.
yeah, no, she's like, I don't know anybody. Now these ladies, they're so fancy. Like there's so many steps.
Oh, like her hick
They
accent's coming out.
Yeah.
They had to train me on how to hold the glass, and I'm not good at it. So
Oh,
I broke
oh,
a
you
few,
sweet child.
and I think they all was mad, but you know, it's okay, cause you know, it got me this dress, so why wouldn't get me this dress if you know, if she's just.
Oh, just
Talk too much. Starting to feel a little bit guilty, right? Oh no.
It's like, you need to stop talking before I start to feel real bad for you. I already
No.
feel kind of bad
No, let
for
her.
you.
It's fine. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
good. She's in a better place now.
She'll like fall asleep. Like, yeah, no, she like sets her down in like a broom closet, and like she's still talking, and she sort of
Yeah.
Gently
Oh,
shuts
She's like,
her.
yeah, you're right. I think I just need to close my eyes for a second.
And then
And after that, I'll be okay. It always works. I'll just 10 minutes. Just knock on the door and.
Yeah.
Oh man. See out like a light.
We're good Samaritans.
Yeah.
We do good works.
We save the people who need it.
It's all charity. It's all good.
We kill everyone else.
You ready?
Always.
Virtue. The devil.
My goodness.
Astute.
Who's an astute?
That's true.
Okay.
Hubris. The tower. Arrogant.
Yup. It's going to be right into a trap.
Man, this full
Oh
of
shit.
Although he does notice things, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna watch out for that.
Right.
Rethold.
Mm-hmm.
Genia. You both get a glass shoved under your nose, filled with very aromatic brandy with ice.
Who's handing it to me?
You notice the shape of Sebastian handing those over to both of you.
I go, oh good, it's not poisoned. Clink.
And you see him tip his hat.
Wow, that's
There's sort of a lull in the crowd where you guys are at, and he is just sort of, he leans against the bar, like grabs one of the glasses there, and it's basically said, "It's a shame." And he nods.
Trick is getting so many hero points right now. I'm mad. Sorry. You go.
Oh, for sure. He nods at Governor Perez, mousy man with his A's, like just swarmed with people. All the nobles, like, you know, scurry his favors, and you see Ushia just standing at a table, almost nobody around her, right? A lot of the nobility is sort of flocking to Perez because they know he's the Cardinal's chosen. And even though she's technically the Grande, she's sort of forgotten, and you can tell that it weighs on him, right? He just shakes his head and he's like, not even a quarter of the leader that she is. And yet, and he sort of nods and leans a little bit closer to you, Rethel, and said, impression on a friend? He's a piece of work.
I don't take that much stock on things that don't last very long.
Oh my.
He leans pretty close to you, and you sense something being slid into your hand, and you recognize immediately the touch, this cold steel of a knife. And he says, if I may make a request.
Killing all these species.
We can always fit in more fun times.
Wow, man, that's just like soliciting assassinations, just like that.
So-
Nice.
So wait, we're talking about who we're talking about now?
Sebastian.
Yes, no, okay, I'm talking
wants us to kill
Sebastian.
the governor.
Yeah.
And he's talking about
Oh,
talking
the
about the no.
The Baron.
He's not asking
That
you
was
to
our
kill
job,
the governor.
I thought it was
He
the
asked
Baron, right?
already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
Yeah, I
talking
thought it
about
was
the
the
Baron.
Duke.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we had the Baron on the hit list for a bit, so yeah.
He's disapproving of the governor because, you know, they're basically taking more and more power away from Lucia. But he basically says Leon Valois committed many crimes during the war. He, under the pretense of a military operation, burned an entire town at the border, only to steal their food supplies. Men, women, children.
Are you telling just Brethel?
No, you're here too. The
Yeah,
man-
I'm looking at you like,
I already fucking hate it.
no, I'm looking at you like keep it calm, keep it like if I've ever commanded anyone, like no, if I've ever had command of people,
Right.
I'm trying to assert it right now to be like, we got a job to do.
He's not even a person.
Are we doing
Right.
right?
And he
The
basically
elephant is more of a
says
person, right?
his second in command in this operation had misgivings and tried to take it to his superiors. He died for it, and he was a dear friend. This was his. When the deed is done, plunge this in him for me.
Right in the ass.
I might not have time to use a knife.
It's after for the symbolism. I
Then
assume.
plant it in his court.
I put my hand on his arm, you know, that reassuring hold, and I'm like, I may not do it myself, but one of us will have this message in with it.
He leans back, pats you on the shoulder, and you see he looks very crestfallen. For a second, like he looks about like 15 years older. But it washes out, and you see, you know, the shoulders square off, and the big smile comes back, and it's like, "They're good folks."
I hold up the glass and I gesticulate towards the party, and I'm like, you may notice that part of his party has already been removed.
And he sort of turns around, and you just laugh, right? It just like echoes out. So it is. To a grand evening.
A grand evening.
It just cheers and walks back to Usha. You see him like sort of put a hand like on her shoulder, and she sort of raises her glass to him, and then raises her glass to Alden as well.
Out in the evening, yeah.
Your lady is in a basket. Evine, Romy, which first notice, she's in the she's just, you can actually hear her snoring in there. She's out.
Oh, also.
Okay, good. Okay, no, I was just gonna say real quick, I slide one of my forks,
Mm-hmm.
which look like knives,
Right.
into one of the slots, and then slide this new knife into that same slot. And I tell Jenny, I'm like 2 minutes. I'll be back.
Wits plus notice as well.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna slide into the kitchen
Does the fact that I'm still reading help?
to
It
find
will affect what you see, yes.
to find Jose, my Jose, and and basically
6.
6? 6, 6. The
It shouldn't be
number of
so-
the beast.
It shouldn't be so funny, but it is.
I put the knife on like a setting
Thank
on a
you.
tray and slide it over to him, and I'm like, make sure this gets to Yemen. It looks like she's particularly on top of this evening's events, and let her know that this is specifically for carving of the bird.
Oh yeah. That's pretty
It actually
long.
takes you get this delivery shortly after as you're making your way. It's like, if I may, for a second. And he hands you the
466.
from Mr. Mendes. He says, for the carving of the bird.
Aha.
Yeah, Jimena walks away from where she left our poor sleeping baby. And doesn't go directly back to where
If we recover her later.
doesn't go directly back to where the Baron is. Like she kind of mingles in with other people, but like
It's another 6 for me.
Okay.
so basically she's gonna make him come with her. She makes sure to kind of
Ooh, off to the side in the periphery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and she she makes sure to every once in a while kind of look around like, oh,
That's right.
I
Oh,
want
you catch his glance a couple of times. Like he's talking to people, and a couple of times you see the roots expanding. It's having its intended effect, right? Like he's talking to other people, and a couple of times he just happens to catch your glance, and just the slightest sly nod, right?
Ew, God.
She winks at least once.
Ugh.
Yep.
She can feel she never goes in his direction. She always makes sure to be moving somewhere else.
Perfect. It does not escape your notice how unworried he seems as to where his date has fucked off to. Because she's nowhere in the vicinity. Doesn't seem like he's scanning for her at all.
He has plenty else to keep himself occupied.
He's in that street murder.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, you can have one. I
Little
got
ice?
this.
Ooh, please.
Ice in the freezer, down bottom.
I have 6.
Yes.
Top drawer, all the way back.
Even you got 6 as well.
Also,
right?
I am probably so I spent at least half an hour dancing. So I don't know if that's while I'm doing that or
Yeah.
while I take a rest somewhere.
I have a
She actually
narrative
does like
for you
ice.
as you observe this. Evine, you're sort of scanning around, and you know the major players, right? You know Juarez is here. You've seen the Baron as well. You're hoping to catch any sort of hints into the crowd. You're sort of focusing on them because there's so many people at this party that anybody really could be the agent. So your goal is to try to find, basically try to catch a sign from either of these two people towards somebody that might be their agent, right? And the Baron is so busy doing other shit that like you can't really see anything like betraying. He doesn't seem to be looking at anybody. He's not even looking at the staff anywhere. He's basking in the attention that's being showered over him. You do catch, because you got 6, as you focus on him,
Who, me?
that he's not you.
Oh, sorry. I also got 6, so I got confused.
You do catch that he's looking at Jimena quite a bit. Quite a bit. Like she's got his attention. Like it's not just like he keeps going back to it. And as he's talking to people, he's slowly making his way in that direction.
It's the thrill of the hunt.
Little by little.
Who is really the prey?
No.
Correct. So that piece is sort of a dead end. Juarez does a couple times exchange a couple words with the mother that's with him. There's another priest that is with them, Roll me a. Let's just make it wits plus notice again. As you're sort of trying to piece this together, like either of them could potentially be the agent. So you're trying to sort of tap into your operative training to sort of reverse engineer this whole thing.
Yeah, but we have just can we do this perfectly?
Yep.
It's like, I got this piece. Everybody else can focus on here.
No, yeah,
That's
no,
right.
that's
Divide and
fantastic.
conquer.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did I get?
Let me get Even's
sorry,
roll, and then I'll
sorry.
step into yours.
I'm excited.
That's 8.
8.
Fuck yeah.
It's the boy. You look at them interact for a bit. You can tell that Juarez is not the mastermind of the operation. He probably calls the shot, but he's not planning the logistics of it. She is. She's in charge. At least as far as tonight is concerned, he's trusting her to handle whatever is happening. But the mousy little priest with them is the one that will absolutely handle the pickup. They spend too much time building her up, getting her introduced to people to have her suddenly vanish for a while. He can go away for 15, 20 minutes, no problem, right?
Fuck, she's
Yeah.
prophet sword.
But the documents will be passed to her eventually. She can then make her exit. You're almost convinced of it. Juarez is never going to touch that shit. Too dangerous.
Yeah.
So she's going to handle that. But as far as being part of the meet, after you watch them interact for a bit, you're like, it's him. It's the boy. So you're watching that kid like a hawk.
How
Yes.
young are we talking here?
He's probably he's dressed in acolyte's robes, so he's probably 17.
Oh, poor baby.
Um,
All these young ones out here.
Well, we don't have to nail him. We just need to get it from him.
Marilena.
Yeah.
You're observing everything,
We'll drop it real quick.
and you're looking at the relations between people, and it's good that you manage to keep control of your powers, because it's enough to go a little crazy here. There's so many connections going all over the place that it's like looking at a piece of fabric and trying to discern individual threads, right?
Yeah. Ooh, wow. Ooh.
You're for a second, your date is talking to you, and you're like, oh, brain freeze, just a second here, you feel the little ting, but as you start to narrow,
She ate her piece of ice under Sally's feet,
yeah, she
and
sort
then looked up at me and went, "What?"
of, she brought one to my feet, and she dropped it on the ground, and I was like, shit, is she eating one of the dice? I got nervous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. I gave her
Chunk of ice.
about 2 dice worth.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
She loves.
No, I was like, no, there's no way that dice gave way that quickly. She just sundered that sucker. So you're basically realizing, all right, if I'm not going to go crazy with this, I should focus on specific people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because he's so out there, you end up focusing on the Baron, right?
Yep.
And it almost infuriates you because the strings he has, most of them are very thin. Even the people that he, spend a lot of time talking about how great they were, including the general, this dinky, anemic little strand. And you're like, that fucker doesn't give a shit about any of these people at all.
Zero surprise!
Right?
Yeah.
You watch him come down the stairs,
This is my surprise eyes.
nothing between him and his date.
That's
Just nothing. Right?
awful.
But
one fleshy strand.
Yes.
If even human.
You
Ew.
see.
Sorry.
God damn it.
It's probably a strand.
Yeah.
Ew.
You see a darkened strand leading to the corner of the room to a well-dressed, say about 30-year-old gentleman, very blonde, curly hair, wearing like a fancy but still tasteful gray coat, wearing a sword, thin mustache, little beard, and there doesn't seem to be a reason. He doesn't seem to be part of house staff. He doesn't seem to be, but there's a definite trend leading up to this guy. And as you're focusing on him, it's like, what's his deal? You see, at some point, Julia swing by him very, very quickly, very surreptitiously, exchange a quick word with him, and then like move away from him. And as you focus on that strand, you're like, he doesn't care about the person, but this is something he cares about.
What?
He cares about the result around this man, not necessarily about the man himself. So you're like, that's his guy.
Yeah.
That's the one that's going to be delivering the papers.
Oh, we found out both sides. Okay, got it.
Well, yeah, that's good. It's great. Now if you could only tell each other.
I mean, we have
Communicate for the rest of us.
things with that, for that, right?
Yeah, but we need to do an acting.
That's
Okay,
right.
give me some.
I can whisper things through the shadows.
Oh, that's right.
Oh shit! Do we know that?
Yeah.
I've used it before.
Oh, sweet. Okay,
I'm
cool.
sure I am around
Marlena,
shadows at some point.
one more wits plus notice.
Oh wow, that's 2 times.
So, Evine, you can whisper into shadows, and others will hear it. Can they whisper back?
Yes.
Oh, dope. Okay.
So sick.
Yeah, I'm like, hell yeah.
Sick ass
The
skill.
party line. All right.
Nice. Right, that is also a 6.
Okay.
Talk hella shit about people.
As you observe all of this out of your periphery, you see the familiar and comforting shape of Ricardo Mendez walking by with a glass of wine, sort of planting himself, shaking hand with your date. They seem to know each other, might have served together at some point. There is a very polite handshake at first, followed by a much less polite accolade, very Castilian as they embrace. And then he sort of plants himself, close to you and then just whispers, "How are the goings on?" I would dare hope. Anything I can assist with?
Yes. Well, I'm trying to think of how I can do this without it being seen. I mentioned a no, I don't say shit.
Shit.
Yeah, Ricardo was like, "Oh, there was plenty of that tonight, yes."
I gotta go help move the gatehouse.
So I more or less say that I'm going to leave something under a glass on a specific table.
I will be there.
Why did I do that? I don't know myself. No, I actually have some. Well,
Evine, if you want to whisper something in the shadows, now is
Yes.
the time.
I will relay what I've heard, or not heard, but observed.
To the whole team?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Me and Jenya both go, huh.
Yeah. As all of you are leaning back, you feel the shadows in the room just get just a little bit longer. Just enough to be creepy. And then you hear Phoebe's voice.
Shady goes,
What do you relate to them?
She's the mastermind, but it's the boy. Hasn't.
I curse in both languages, and I sort of gesticulate with my pipe towards who she's talking about to point out to Jenya.
I asked Eduardo who was the name of that man.
Which man?
The one that Julia was talking to.
He sort of kicks back a little bit. You know, yes, but he resembles a man that I used to know.
No, that's General Gautier.
But that man is dead.
How possibly? Maybe a twin?
It's a good thing we got a cleric. We can smite the shit out of the zombie.
He's
Or-
probably risen.
Oh shit!
It could be something that convoluted, but more simply, it may very well be that the rumors of his death were greatly exaggerated.
Maybe a blonde curly hair.
Possibly. So he does give you a name?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Nice. Nice. It's been a while. I'm proud of this. Well done.
Oh, sorry. It's okay.
He says, Lieutenant Marcel de Grandpré.
Holy crap, I'm supposed to write that?
Yeah.
I thought that
sound
was.
it
I
out.
thought that was the part up inside the hoo-ha.
That too.
I can write Trompe. I don't know how to write that. But I don't know the other stuff.
That's fine.
So
V-E-K.
I mean, so basically I tend to run and say that I'm going to get us some drinks and
X-A-E-U.
I try to find a convenient time to sit to this table
Sometimes why.
with and slip a piece of paper with that name on it.
X-A-E-U. X-A-E-U. X-A-E-U.
So, actually, you can whisper back into the shadows.
Can I?
Yeah.
Well, alright. Wow, how many?
Testing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking to Eduardo while that's happening. Can you just hear
Yeah.
that?
Put
Yes.
your fan over
But
your
long as
face.
there's some sort of
Yeah,
shadow
that's
on
right.
his face.
Okay, yeah, I
Prostra-
repeat the name under my fan.
That was
Cause like
good.
I'm trying to pronounce it right.
I hope you caught that internet because that was a real life int roll.
Yeah.
That just happened.
We just rocked
When
that.
you bang that 15 plus, you're like, I know what it is.
Yes, so you get the information. So now, Rethel,
I slide up over to
you
the
see
tree.
both.
Oh yeah, I slide up over the tree. I'm like, update. Like, dumbass priest. Aragorn,
This is
motherfucker.
where the Ocean's 11 style thing
Right.
happens, where you see things passing. This
And
person and that person.
I'm like, that bitch
Sweet jazz.
is
sounds.
that
Yeah.
bitch.
That's right. You can almost hear the jazz soundtrack.
George Clooney's
As
somewhere.
Rethel is saying these things, it's almost like in your mind, a blue line
It's
is
the-
connecting both of these,
Yeah.
and you have your culprits. And Jimena, as you're finishing a conversation, you hear a voice over your shoulder.
Oh, no,
He
bro!
slithered up to you, my
That's right. You hear his scales
sick.
rub against the
No!
man.
At least it's not feathers this time.
Yes.
Make sure you kill him
And-
2 times.
A glass of champagne is being handed to you.
Oh, I gotta.
You better put your counter roofie in there.
Yes.
She takes it. Well, thank you.
I'm so thirsty.
Oops.
She's doing the like, she tips it, but it doesn't touch. Like, oh yes, no, totally.
Nice.
He hands it to you and he's like, well, I'm glad to see you have not strayed too far, as you can tell.
Yeah,
And
makes it worse.
He sort of looks like around, like in a very like dramatic fashion. I seem to be finding myself without an escort, so.
It does seem to be a problem for you. I wonder what we could do about it.
Oh, I do have a few ideas.
No, I'd love to hear them.
Oh yeah!
Like she's just tipping the tray.
Right.
Fuck
You
yeah.
see the plan going,
Jenny person, what are you
right. you get a serving staff behind there. It's like, my skin!
Like some of it gets on the ground and
No.
the carpet.
I okay. I like it.
Nothing dramatic happens,
Yeah.
but he does extend you a hand. It's like, if you would do me the pleasure.
She
Yeah.
curtsies and makes sure to be.
Right. You feel the jealous glances on you.
You don't know. You don't know.
No, he's gonna go out thinking he was the best.
Right.
So that last.
So, tell me about yourself.
Where's your squishiest part?
Oh, he's gonna try and show it to her, right? Don't you worry.
Well,
Sick.
it depends on what you might be interested in hearing. Those war stories,
Interested in my
perhaps?
dungeon, perhaps? You. I guess myself out again.
Bores me. Tell me something interesting. Like, nuzzle,
well.
nuzzle, nuzzle.
Jiggle, jiggle,
Yes.
jiggle.
So
Yeah.
much of this. The
Yeah.
Push
Yeah.
those
arms pushing together.
The squeeze.
Yep.
You got him talking now.
Just like
Everybody whiffs plus notice.
Gee, they only needed one raise to see his boner.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think any of us are
You
seeing
need no
it.
raise.
That codpiece has
He's
gained
got-
altitude.
He's the one with all the raises.
His pens,
Ew.
his pens have been tailored in such a way that there can be no mistake. Anytime there is movement, you see the fabric rustle.
She's just like, what does that explain? Is there an animal in there? She doesn't know.
God.
I didn't die now. I did. Just don't look for the animal. I should not be in there.
No, it's you.
His
It's
trousers
okay.
bare.
Very hairy.
Yep.
It might bite.
It's
Yeah.
actually more. It's more of an ermine than a ferret.
Right
It's
after-
It doesn't have enough girth.
Right after she says trouser ferret, you see a little poke and then it skitters off.
Stop
In the
insulting
cartoon.
her.
Two parts unknown.
The cartoon it's just out.
I got six again.
See?
Just for all the sixes, falling roll.
1, 2. I feel like that's as good as I'm gonna get. Might as well. Let's try it. Yeah. 2.
2?
Yeah.
Fortunately, because of the sit rep you got, you're sort of watching those key parts.
Yeah, Veen, what'd you run on that wits plus notice?
Honey,
Oh.
Clearly not.
Probably not.
sorry,
Well.
we didn't stand into a shadow, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Even's trying to figure out where the ferret went to. It went to the courtyard. Oh no, it's gonna scare the elephant.
Veen is the ferret.
Should be in there, Veen.
More of a pine martin.
Yeah,
Just gonna start naming off different kinds of weasels.
it's more of a titmouse.
Which is actually kind of cool.
Lisa's not a bluefoot booby.
The noble bird, known for its unique plumage.
5.
5. Okay. Y'all got 2 and up.
Yeah.
It becomes apparent immediately as you look. There is movement with 2 folks. It is going on. And just as you see them moving, you actually hear the cracking of fireworks outside. Through the window, you see what appears to be like a gigantic flame rising up, and you hear some ohs and ahs, and you're like, okay, the entertainment has started, so that must be the cue. But yes, both of your folks, they're being very careful as to not appear that they're walking off in the same direction, but they're both moving at the same time.
Are the windows in either of the 2 locations open?
No.
Genya, open the
Which one
windows.
of those 2
Open the windows from that
locations
room. I'm gonna open the windows in this
Because I'm
room.
about to excuse myself.
Because I know that we have
Um,
trick latches
one
on
of the
them, we
rooms
can pop
is
them open
actually
from the outside.
Okay.
Close to there, so
Basically to give our tree sniper a clear shot
So
without
I
breaking glass
say
and
that
making excess noise.
I would like to freshen them up before I go and see the entertainment outside. So I go off and do that.
I'm feeling shiny.
right.
I do need to powder
So
my
did you catch, we pop the windows, we pop at least one window on each,
Okay.
so that our tree has a clear line
Perfect.
without breaking excess glass.
You also catch that, Jimena. So the subtlety now comes from figuring out which of the rooms they're going to use and getting a bearing in the other one. Or in the same one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, your choice, baby.
We're known, we'll hear him die.
Depends on how you want to do this and whether you will leave other witnesses behind.
I mean, part of me really wants to just a gross melee, just a fucking Tarantino film in the one room, just.
like single shot,
Oh,
take, like.
The arrows come in through the windows, and then we just charge in through those same windows. The arrows came through, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like.
Rental, you can see it. You can see the battle.
So the room
The
that I'm going
reading
to
of my
first,
ancestors.
is there anyone in it right now?
No, these rooms are empty right now, and that's why they're probably purposefully being left empty.
I don't know if I trust my own hide.
Wait,
Wait,
that
can I-
leads to the barracks. Like, so, what did you think of fireworks?
Well, they're very expensive.
Money just exploding in the sky.
Right.
I mean, kinda, yeah.
So,
They're also very beautiful, but you have to understand they get boring after a while. Once you've seen a few.
Damn. That's not a
wow.
foreshadowing. I don't know what it is.
We'll give
Interesting.
you a time to
Wow, what
relax.
did you think would not be boring?
Last time.
Well, you know, some fireworks are not as boring.
Yeah.
Ah! You can only make those lines because you're rich.
Yeah.
Even then. Even then.
Yeah.
And what kind of fireworks would those be?
Well, just like real fireworks, rather than describe them to you, why don't I show
Can't even
you?
like look at you.
Yeah. No, it's just that mental image. It's just
Yeah.
It's that smartiness.
So, I go into the bathroom, but instead of cleaning myself up, I take my hair down, mess it up, mess my makeup to look like I'm crying. And I actually look into the mirror and make myself cry. I think about my husband.
No, it doesn't take much.
You're always on the edge of tears.
You tap into it and it comes to you.
And when am I first to that room? Because do I even is Iggy in there? Is anyone there?
Evine's in a tree.
Every
No, Evine
okay.
is.
No,
Never
Evine's-
mind.
Evine's on the floor.
Oh,
Yeah.
before.
Well,
Where-
anyway, I try to put
We've
myself
got
in
a
Are
the
you
room.
all moving to
I
the
instantly
locations?
decided to move.
We're posted outside. I don't know.
Nothing's getting past me.
I basically.
You guys are at your post.
We're waiting to see
myself-
who ends up in what room
Evine,
because one per room.
you post yourself outside with them, or are you heading to the rooms from the inside?
I guess that I will shadow over my face, say which room I'm going to.
Evine said outside.
Yes. Also, I have a problem.
So
There's almost two.
yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
god,
that's
it
right.
is late.
No, I thought the fireworks was a good point to stop.
Yes.
I thought that's kind of where you were going with
Okay,
the
okay.
Baron and with the fireworks because
It's just so
And we will
exciting.
stop it.
it is.
So
it is good. It's very good.
you
So,
are, Marilena. You just come out of the restroom. You guys are posted outside
with Evine.
with Evine. At the other end of this corridor comes Jimena,
With the
And-
man of the hour.
the man of the hour, engaged in conversation. Marilena, in the room close to you, you see a blonde, curly-haired man walk by the door, surreptitiously grab a key from his pocket, unlock it, and step inside.
Oh, this is the room.
Can I claim an additional hero point for Skull
You
because
sure can.
we knew because my knowledge as a seer, we knew that that woman was the spy master previously.
Yep. You absolutely can.
Excellent.
And with a click, the door is closed behind this gentleman. And next time,
Mm-hmm.
murder.
We're gonna fuck some shit up. Do we get any points?
You sure do.
Yay!
You ridiculous folks.
Who's the blonde?
He's curly
That's
blonde.
the
That's
guy.
that's the Aragorn motherfucker.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Oh, the
That's
one that
He's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That we
That-
thought
he's
was
the guy
dead.
you scouted.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot he was blonde. My bad.
Curly blonde hair.
Anyway, like.
Like
Anyway.
Wesley.
Okay.
I'll grab yourself a 5 XP for being.
My plan was
Fabulous.
basically to try to hide in there, but I'm gonna have to probably.
Alright, night, Rabbit.
The
Night,
whole
night.
crying thing
Thank
was
you,
supposed to be
Amanda.
a reason to be in there, to be running in there.
Yeah.
But I can't. I have to figure something out before next time, which is gonna be next year.
Bad internet.
Night, internet.